Greetings and salutations, Legion fans! Here we are for the February Nova Cup Grand Finals, and with me on the caster's couch today, it's none other than Shadow Wings, a friendly face we've not had around these parts for a while. Shadow, welcome back to the stream.
Hello. I mean, even though I wasn't on this cast, I was doing multiple casts on just covering more games on Division 1 or going for Division 4, so I was around, just not there.
I'm going to just adjust your camera very slightly to get you more centered so that everyone can see your glorious beard properly. There we go. That's looking good now. All right. So, Shadow, we've got an absolute belter of a match in store for us today. The first matchup that we're going to be covering on the stream is the semi-final between Groll and Creep Groll, which is Adams and Julian, and they're going to be playing up against Abrasiet, so King Dans and Widdowson, who actually only made it through their group in the survivors match there. They were beaten in the second round by No Greed Balls Feed. Bit of an upset for sure,
It
but
was it
very
was
well
in the
played
first
by
round.
Caesar and Leonora. The first round even. Wow, okay. So very, very cool to see. This match could already be a final, right? We have King Dans and Widdowson against Julian and Adamus. This is four of the best, well, okay, three of the best players that Legion has to offer, and Julian. It's a pretty hype match, right?
Yeah, it is. But yeah, I mean, the story of yesterday was for Group A that the seed 8 entering the tournament really made it to day 2. That was really the story of yesterday.
Yep.
And it was quite a surprise seeing them advance that fast because they won the first best of threes, and yeah, I mean now um, e- exiting the Group A as second seed, um, the Kingdoms and Invader was quite a surprise here, and that's why we have this kind of matchup here with Vader King against Adams and Julian.
Yeah. It's going to be a really exciting game. Have you got any predictions for this? Like, do we expect any surprise mastermind pickups, any fiestas, any YOLOs, or is it going to be like Castle, Greed?
I've done my research. I've done my research
Okay, let us know. Give us some
because
hints.
because this morning, Julian and Adams did prepare some matches together.
Okay.
So they practiced and they tried some mastermind. Um, Adams is known for his castle, his chaos, his cash out, but in those 3 games, he played the 3 first games of redraw this season.
Okay. So he really wants to hammer in on those super solid rolls, right? Like he's using redraw to make sure that he has a perfect set of units with answers for all the waves and that kind of thing. Like, obviously, you pay for
It's
it with your income a little bit, but you're pretty much guaranteed a solid roll.
it is the same idea as chaos, so it makes sense that he wants to explore this.
Yeah.
So maybe Julian just saying take something more stable is okay. I'm gonna take free draw. It's the same idea behind it, but a little bit more stable.
I'm pretty sure he will still play Chaos for at least one of
Oh
his
yeah,
matches, though, right? Like, Adams is 100% Chaos on the ladder, so he's had to ruin that now, it sounds like, for his practice games with Julian. A bit unfortunate there to ruin his 100% Chaos abuse record, but nice to see him branching out, and very, very good idea to do that, really, when you have to play this conquest format for Division 1, right?
oh yeah, definitely. Especially if you reach the final, having this surprise mastermind can always change the idea of the game that's going to happen.
Yeah. So pretty cool there. Hopefully, we haven't given Widdowson and King Downs a bit of insider info there with your research into Julian and Downs, but I'm
I mean,
sure these
knowing,
guys are researching each other anyway at this level.
yeah, exactly. I think that they did this homework anyhow, so it's good for the viewers to know at least what's going
Yeah,
on in the background.
yeah.
I'm gonna say that in terms of mastermind, King and Vidor are kind of stable. They always prefer their YOLO, their greed, and their cartel, so they value income quite a lot. But the one person that we can never predict what he will do is mostly Julian. Yes, YOLO is a stable stamp in his playstyle, but he is the one to bring the Fiesta. He is the one to bring
Yeah.
the castle, and those are masterminds that needs you to think differently about the game.
So Julian is definitely like he's a Fiesta main this season on the ladder at least. But whenever we play duo queue together, he's always playing Fiesta, and he knows how to play it very well. So I definitely wouldn't be surprised to see him pull that one out of the bag today. Actually, especially against King Dans and Widdowson, because those guys maybe get a little bit heated when they see a Fiesta opponent, especially if he manages to roll the pixies. So I can certainly see some kind of like emotional damage strategy where he picks Fiesta, skillfully rolls the Chloropixie, and yeah, just getting the tilt there against King Dans and Widdowson, and maybe seeing where he can go from there. But I mean, regardless of Pixie or no Pixie, Julian knows how to play Fiesta very, very well, and I would not be surprised to see him whip that one out for us today. Which is, it's a viewer favourite for sure. It always leads to some fun and exciting games, so let's see if it happens.
Yeah, let's see. And we still don't see the lobby being created. But yeah, I mean, quite exciting. I do expect all 3 games. I mean, today I hope we have 8 games, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, did you see? I suppose you were casting yourself yesterday, but on the main stream, all of our matches went the full best of 3. So we casted 3 matches.
Same as my side.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just great, right? It just shows how well matched all of these teams are. If there weren't any 2-0 like clean sweeps on stream, all of the matches, all of the teams are pretty evenly matched. And even in those games, like even within those 2-1 series that we saw, even the games that were won were super close. Like, it was such a hype set of games, really, really cool. And I think the new format has a lot to say with that, where Division 1 is only like the very top 8 teams in the whole of Legion. So only the very best of the best get to compete now in Division 1, the super elite, the giga nerds, if you will. And they really play super well against each other. And we saw that yesterday, and I'm sure we'll see that again today.
Oh yeah, I mean, these matches being that close just show to you that the decision making in the game is not fixed. Like, there was some crazy comebacks on my stream, so I don't know about you. I mean, I've seen it real fast to be up to date, but I think they were all decided on someone maybe sending a bit too soon, or not reading the send correctly, or just reading the send correctly, and the opposite too. And it's just those decisions are crucial, and I think this Nova Cup, they've been all over the place here, all within all the games.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, decision making for sure. And there's just the skill level is so high, right? Like, all of the teams are playing at the top of their game, and there really is like a razor thin margin between the teams currently playing. And just one very small decision, or a slightly better roll, or whatever it happens to be, might be the difference maker in one of these games. And I think that's just super exciting to watch. Makes for some really fun games, really good mind games as well. Like, there was some really cool back and forth between the teams, where some player would like do a big shift in one game, and then the next game and like get away with it, and then in the next game they would overbuild on the same wave, and then the opponent would send into them because they knew they shifted last game. And it's like super cool mind games and bluffs and double bluffs. And it really is, like, Legion is basically poker at the top level. It's really cool to watch.
Yeah, we need to take special care here. Wave 12 seems more threatening than some people give them credit to. Like, in the game I casted yesterday, Wave 12 was often a undercut wave. So it's gonna be interesting to see if it is today again, or if it's gonna change.
Yeah. Now, I still don't see a lobby for our first semi-final, so I'm going to whisper some of the players and see if we can get one of those created.
I think they're just waiting to have the other one created so that they can mess up the overlay for you.
All right, I've got Julian to make a lobby, so he should have one of those up quickly. There's some fantastic copy pastas in the chat, by the way. Julian isn't so great. Are you kidding me? When was the last time you saw a player with such an ability to build? Julian puts the game in another level, and we'll be blessed if we ever see a player with his skill and passion for the game again. King Dans breaks records. Widdowson breaks records. Julian breaks the rules. You can keep your statistics. I prefer the magic. Amazing.
I mean, the magic of Julian. Yes.
All right, we've got to lobby up Mr. Shadowwing so we can hop in there.
Wait, everybody you joining at the same time and place perfectly. Wow, okay.
Synchronized swimming. All right.
So we'll have, according to what we see here, Julian sending to King Dans in the first game. I think this works in the favor of Julian and Adams because Julian is normally the one to play a little bit more starvy, but Viderson as well. So when you're starving, you're kind of happy that the one sending to you is starving as well, because then you have the power to maybe get 3 people out of the game while enabling the other one.
Yep. Yeah. And on the side of King Dans and Widdowson, who would you say is more often playing the carry role?
Oh, King Dans. I mean, if we take into example what happened yesterday, King Dans was often the one resending a lot and just going to further heights. Didn't always work in their favor, but let's see if there's adjustments with that too. Because if there's a Fiesta in the game, they can maybe change their game plan with that.
There's even more fantastic copy pasta now. You and Julian play duo? Duos are way OP. Mods fail to work it out. I can't even block or avoid these terrible players. And get them on my team. Okay, I'm not going to read the rest of that. It's maybe a bit unsafe for the
Yeah. Let the copy pasta be. We have a game on our end. The first game is going to start soon.
Yeah. Okay. Greetings and salutations, Legion fans. Here we have the very first game of the February Nova Cup semi-finals. We have Graal into Keep Graal on the left versus Team Abrasiat on the right. Let's go!
Ooh, right off the bat, we saw interesting Legion spells and Vampire, Giant Snell, and Press Attack. Too aggressive, so Cartel on the board here for Adams and King Dans.
Yeah, both going with the safer option. So we can expect some big snowbally in the early game, and hopefully, they're in a good enough position that the Cartel downside on wave 11 doesn't hurt them too much. And then we have Julian playing the cash out, which is a very, very solid opener. He's got a really good role to pair with it as well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably thinking about the Crusher 5-Walker opener paired with Harpy, covers wave 10, can also pair that with Slime Siren or Gargoyle for a wave 7 defense. So overall, pretty solid opener for Julian. Limited late game if he doesn't get the Elite Archer in there, but we'll see what he decides in due time.
Now, Widdowson's rocking the Flying Force over there in lane 4, which is one of his favourite roles, by the way. I know that for a fact. He has the Windhawk and the Tempest, which is just a fantastic pair, and the Aqua as well. So that Rogue Wave can really be a steroid injection into the Flying Force late game because, the 16% spell boost is really something with all those Violets and Tempest passives flying around.
Yeah, definitely. And King Dans going for a Green Devil opener paired with the Packrat. A little bit weaker in this patch, slower to generate the Methium. So we'll see how he maneuvers that, if he pushes more workers faster or if he wants to promote those treasure hunts.
Yeah. We see Julian in lane 1 with the Bone Crusher opener. He does not receive Ascend, so Widdowson is going Giga Try Hard, Giga Early. Straight out of the bat, putting pressure onto Julian, but with his role, he should be absolutely fine.
Yeah, Adam's hiding the Angler for wave 1, so that means he's gonna show it on wave 2 instead. Windhawk opener paired with Aqua is one of the few opener you could go 6 workers, but decides to play it safe here and add a split. Oh, goes for Tempest right away. Okay, saving the Aqua. And Viderson does get the 40 cent here onto Julian, but it will be received by a Fire Archer in the split, so this should be a hold on Julian.
Yeah, he should be completely fine. The Fire Archer, I think this can even hold 60. As long as the Fire Archer tanks the right amount, which it pretty much always does. It can easily handle these 4 whales and the DT, then it just holds it held at any send. Maybe a Fiend would get through it, but DT Snail is fine.
Yeah, I mean, with this positioning in the early game, and that's also the power of cash out. You still 5 workers, you didn't receive on 1, doesn't matter, you still get enough for your fire archer split. Safe on 2 and 3, you adjust on wave 4 to protect the archer,
Yeah.
and then you have a stable opener.
Oh, look at this, by the way. King Dan's making the risky play there, not adding anything to his Green Devil, while Julian was full saving him.
I mean, he's saving again, so that could cause some issue for King Dan's on wave 4. Luckily for
Yeah.
him, he has the Serpent here to protect him, but a Dino can be still threatening.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I was more thinking that if Julian even sent a single snail on wave 2, King Dan's would have leaked half the wave.
Yeah, true. But at this level, and near the in this semifinal that we expect to be somewhat of a representation of a possible final, making those risky play gives you an advantage, and it's with those small advantages that you can make a winning play. Proactiveness is often what distincts the winner from the losers here, so King Dan's already trying to show here some proactiveness. And so we do expect the Dino comes in from Julian, and so we'll be able to see how the Serpent is going to deal with that Dino sent from Julian. The split might kill the Serpent here on King Dan's lane, though.
Yeah, let's have a look. So he's getting a big send there. There won't be another snail to come, so it's just going to be the 100 send. I say just the 100 send, it's big enough.
Also to note, Adams has been saving 2. He's going to get 100 also. Vitterson, the safe hold is to boost the veteran, decides not to. He doesn't want to lose 20 gold, and the 2 DTs are going to be quite impactful onto that build.
20 gold is so much like to lose in the early game. I think he's just way happier to risk leaking small, and actually with this he may even just hold. He's got really good units there.
Yeah,
so this Dino's doing its job. Oh no, look at this thing surviving!
Oh, this is just perfect for King Dan's gonna hold here.
Easy hold for King Dan's, and looks like the same for Widdowson as well, actually.
I mean, the Mithium has been... it has been equalized a little bit. Everybody sent, only Adams saved a little bit here. Did not full send on this wave. But in terms of worker, it's Julian ahead.
Yeah, they're ahead, but King Dan's is leading. Or doing very well, at least in terms of income. There is a resend actually coming out from Adams with a friendly brute there walking into Widdowson's lane. And Widdowson has, in fact, full pushed. So he was starved into wave 4. They do both hold the big sends there. But Adams goes for a full resend, so he will get a snail to go with this brute. And Widdowson's value is not looking great here, actually. This might end up being a pretty good leak.
And that's the partial send here on 4 from Adams. Surprising with the resend here, 80 into 80. It's not something you expect from the early game.
Oh, Julian got the brute out as well, post income. Okay.
That is going to hurt because this is a treasure as well on King Dan's.
So they're both looking quite low value. The brutes do come out. The Sea Dragon, of course, is fantastic on this wave, especially with the Green Devil, but it's not enough. This will be a leak from King Dan's, and it will be a leak from Widdowson as well. So first blood we see here on wave 5 going the side of Graal into Keep Graal. And this is going to be quite some damage as well.
Yeah, I mean, when you're getting starved and you finally receive your send, you don't expect the opponent to be that pushed, but Julian's opener allowed that. And Adams partially sending and having the same amount of Mithium to send after that.
And look, this Shadow, the right side king is already on 66% HP. So they're definitely within one-shot range of another big send, if that's the route that Julian and Adams want to go down.
Yeah, I mean, they receive a send here on 6. King Dan's is going to bring up the King region. And, I mean, if Julian and Adams really want to play the 1-2 punch, then they can already look towards a wave 10 send, especially with the send on 6.
Now there is a counter send here on wave 6 from King Dan's and Widdowson, but with all of the gold they gained on the last wave, I think Julian and Adams are going to be just fine. And knowing that actually we have some regen king ups added by King Dan's and Widdowson, probably correctly guessing that they wouldn't be able to get too much damage done against their opponents here.
Yeah, and I mean, this just opens the door. It just opens the door to Julian and Adams to choose their next send. And as we said, 10 is a possibility, and that's enabled by Adams being on the bounty hunter here.
They could even look into 9 as well. Like, sure, Widdowson has the violets already showing, but the rest of his units are not very good on 9, and everything on King Dan's board currently is very weak on wave 9.
The problem with wave 9, and it's because if you have good setup on 8, like is the case for Widdowson and King Dance, you can always be surprised with a gate because there are a lot of hidden units still on both lanes. So the gate can mess up a little bit, and then it's strong on 11. You're kind of forced to maybe look into 12, but that's not looking great either. So the better line here would be 10 into 13 already if they are already looking that far. And I think that looking that far when you're having Kingpin is a possibility, especially for Julian and Adams.
And look at this worker count as well. Adams on 11, Julian on 10, King and Widdowson both on 8, and they do resend the income here on wave 8 as well. So exactly as you were saying, Shadow, if these guys just want to go straight wave 10 now, they're not under any pressure to send on 9 at all. And with King Dan's showing his Butcher here, obviously threatening a Head Chef on 9, very, very strong unit there, I certainly wouldn't be surprised to see Grawl into Keep Grawl just recognising that the power of those units and go straight for a wave 10. Which could just be a killing blow.
Yep. I mean, if you're looking at King Dan's lane, if you do the Ghost Knight route, it could be very interesting on wave 10. Especially if you pair it with some lizards to distract those coilers away from the boss.
Yep. Any kind of big tank unit on wave 10 when you're sending into coilers is really, really strong. The reason being, if all of your frontline melee units are stuck attacking a Ghost Knight or a Ram or whatever, then your coilers go straight on the boss, and that means the boss will target them way earlier and ignore the rest of your front line. So that can work very, very well. And yeah, the guys they are saving.
Yeah, I mean, I think they recognize the 10 to 13 line. It does work well with the Kingpin, and also the possible answers for wave 13 and the Berserker on the side of Adams. Julian will need to re-roll to find a possible answer for it, but still within this line works pretty well. But very minimal answers for now, especially with the Shadow Dancer being shown.
Not great on 10 though, and really worth pointing out that King Dan's reads this correctly as a wave 10 send, so he's not scared. He hunts his pack rat on wave 9, and actually he's overvalue even with the hunted pack rat. So he has a pretty solid chance of holding wave 10, even though the send is going to be absolutely huge.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be a Ram. I hope it's not. I hope it is the Ghost Knight, even though he shows the Shadow Dancer, because it's not ability damage. But the wave is long, so the round can still go through.
They both have 320 in income. And it is Ogres.
No big
Ogre,
tanks.
Mole, Ogre, Brute. No big tanks. That's surprising, actually, especially from Julian. Like, if I look at King Dan's board, I think a big tank is almost mandatory to try and get those coilers sniped out early, because like this, they're going to be the last units focused.
I think that Julian is just doing this send because he's afraid that the Ghost Knight is going to be ignored. He does have an upper split on the side of King Dance here, so trying to get the Brute tanking first here, that can happen, especially with a upper split when you have medium range mercenaries, shall I say.
Alright, this is going to be crucial here. How well can these guys hold? We have a boosted veteran there for Widdowson. He snipes them all very, very quickly. The Ogre still tanking those their veteran and Tempest shots, so that gives the bot a lot more HP. Widdowson's doing incredibly well, though. It will be a leak, it looks like, but a very, very small one. Meanwhile, King Dan's, his Shadow Dancer is still alive. He's getting a ton of value from that. Widdowson leaking just 23%. And King Dan's, wow, he's doing even better than Widdowson. This is, okay, slightly worse. This is a 24% leak for King Dan's. And these guys, they were enormous sends, Shadow. 360, 360 on wave 10. And the 1-2 punch that we expected from Julian and Adams is not as successful as we might have expected.
I mean, what it does open up at 13 now, but King Dance reads it correctly and goes for treasure hunts instead of pushing too much here.
Yep.
Now, who has the best answer for 13 is the question. Julian did not roll anything for 13. Adams did have the Berserker, still has it. And now, if King Dance and Wilson reads that and want to do a comeback, either they match on 13 or they try to go a longer save like 15 and try to get the momentum back to decide the waves.
Yeah. Worth pointing out as well that Julian and Adams, they both take the aggressive spell there with Press the Attack, whereas only Widdowson takes that, and King Downs is going for the hold there with the Vampire, so trying to boost the strength of his board. He's also hiding it though, so he hasn't shown the spell. I wonder if either team goes for something cheeky like a Wave 12 undercut. That could work very well. Like if King Downs doesn't read it and he has a ton of value underground.
That could work against King Downs, but look at Bitter's board here.
Widdowson is insane on Wave 12, yeah, he is. But maybe like he builds more Yuzoras or something, you know?
Yeah. But right now, if you're Julian and Adams, when you see those Tempest, what you fear is a Phoenix here. So
yeah,
getting the Press the Attack does allow you to potentially gain the double 4-eye for that potential Phoenix. And still, double 4-eye is still pretty good against Widdowson's board on Wave 13. So it can still work in their favor. And if Julian reads that correctly and King Dance is going to invest more towards the Dread Knight, then having a bigger sand here to try and overwhelm it is still the best choice here with Press the Attack.
We see a big shift there from Adams. Obviously, he's not scared of Wave 12 with his Kingpin and Royal Guard build. And we see a small shift coming out from King Dance as well. Only 90 gold there, but he'll be able to get the Dread Knight if that's what he wants on Wave 13.
Yep. And that should be his play.
He's even
to note, the Vampire was spotted.
Here.
Yeah, Vampire was spotted though, so Adams have the lesser sand going his way. Wither does go for it, and King Dance should be soon to follow. I do expect Adams and Julian to go for it too.
Yeah, there's the double Ogre coming out from Julian, and we have Ogre and Pack Leader coming out from Adams as well. I wonder they'll have a little bit more Mythium to spend. So the sends are much, much bigger coming out from the side of Burnt and Adams. But if we look over at King Dance, like he's just more or less on value there with 2,420. All obviously going to keep his pack rats above ground on this wave, and they're very well typed as well. Like the Impact and Swift unit there on the pack rat is going to give him some solid value on this wave.
A little bit surprised by the Son of Adams, to be honest with you, but it does get them all out.
I think the mole is very good against these units.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about the Ogre. Seeing the Yuzoras.
Yeah. Okay, let's have a look then. So we have 400 sends against Burnt and Adams, and 480 against King and Widdowson. But King and Widdowson have more value. So is this going to be the power of workies or the power of value shining through, Shadow?
I mean, it's not looking good on the side of Julian and Adams.
Adams is struggling, Julian is struggling, they both leak. They do have 100% King though, so they shouldn't die. Widdowson leaking 78% there, King Downs leaking 86, and these guys may just die to this leak.
I mean, it's equal-sized leaks, so it's gonna be
Let's see what Tenacity
an
can do.
equalized game at the best for Wither and King, but it is a lot for those
Let's
Ogres.
see, is Tenacity enough? Yep, so left side is staying alive. And King Downs and Widdowson, they're dropping low, lower, and it is GG! Graal into keep, Graal taking a very clutch game number 1 here. Well played, guys.
It's very good planning here. I mean, the line 10 to 13 was shown quite early, especially with some resends from King Downs and Widdowson, and for them to spot it on the moment was kind of impressive still.
And King Downs knew exactly what was happening with that line as well. Like he's building for wave 10, he's hunting his pack rats on 9, even though he can receive like a 260 send or so there. And then, they both just do really, really well against the wave 10 send. 360 Mythium on wave 10 is no joke, but they both leak super low HP bosses. And as a result, in fact, they only took 15% damage there from a massive, massive save from Julian and Adams. So very well played to do so well on wave 10. But unfortunately, wave 13 was another story, with both of them leaking a lot of creeps through on that wave, and ultimately taking lethal damage. But it was very close. I mean, they almost survived.
Yeah. I mean, they almost survived, but then who has the better 15 board? Nobody. Maybe Julian to be justified for it. Maybe also King Dance, but he doesn't have Sea Dragon anymore. So it would have been like everybody having the same weak waves in the mid game. That's what kind of hurt everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, really interesting one how this played out actually, with both teams kind of picking the same ways to try and send on. And I mean, even Julian and Adams, they took a ton of damage here, really being saved by tenacity, honestly, because this could have been lethal damage in a previous patch.
Yep. And I mean, they already played like the 10-10. Like, yes, it wasn't big leagues. What it did for Julian and Adams is to secure a worker lead, which helped them
Yeah.
to finish it on 13-2.
Yeah, for sure. It kept King Dans and Widdowson really low workers for a really long time. Like they only managed to push to. Well, in fact, Widdowson was already on 8 workers from the Wave 5 leak. King Dans managed to push another one there, but they didn't push between Wave 5 and Wave 10.
Yeah, and that was the goal of the save here. Especially when you have Kingpin, that's very good when that happens because then you can catch up in workers more easily.
Yeah. Really cool game. Okay. Well, that's a quick 1-0 victory there, and that was a pretty rapid game. I was almost thinking it could have ended on Wave 10, but no, they managed to extend it until Wave 13, and a very close one in the end, with King Dans and Widdowson just barely dying to those massive leaks on Wave 13.
I mean, important to note, Adam's no longer able to take Cartel, even though it's not one of his favored mastermind options, so he has those still in pocket, like Chaos and Castle, that could also be in his pocket now. So he's gonna still be within known bounds, like comfortable bounds, yeah. And Julian, with the cash out of the way, he still has his YOLO.
Yep, yep. And of course, I think if we see something like Pawn Shop as one of the Legion spells, I would expect both Adams and King Dans actually to take Chaos in that case, because it's just such a strong mastermind spell combo.
Well, now being one game down on Viderson and King Dans, I do expect Viderson to maybe get out his redraw. I think he's been practicing it, and he feels like in those game deciding matches, having a stable role might be beneficial for him. And I would agree, especially if there's auras in the Legion spells.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Widdowson's certainly a fan of the redraw. I've seen him play it in previous tournaments, and he's been practicing it on stream as well today. So I think that will be a pocket strat for him, just to guarantee that he has the solid role, as you say, and particularly when there's aura spells, because he's going to guarantee both the strong roll and the strong spell, and going to have just a monstrous late game board.
I think Invader are discussing a little bit of strategy here.
Yep.
What will happen. And now Viderson and King Dans did decide to swap the sending order. So it's going to be Julian now sending to Viderson.
Okay, that makes sense. I think Adams is the carry player on Grawl into Keep Grawl, and I think King Dans is the carry player on Abrasurt. So it is favourable to them to have their kind of support player sending into the carry player of the opponent, and vice versa. So I like this decision here from Abrasurt. And you know, their tournament life is on the line in this match. They are 1-0 down after the first game. If they lose this one, they are out of the tournament in the semi-finals. So, with that said, here is game number 2.
And no auras, but we do have the Divine Blessing. And there's the redraw, trying to find this Priestess or this Nightmare for the Divine Blessing.
Talking about Priestess, Julian finds it with Greed.
Oof, and it's not, oh my god, look at this Priestess roll. Just take a moment and look at it.
This is a hell of a Priestess roll. He has Priestess with the Grawl, so you can always cheat out that Azaria in the early game when you need it. He also has the Trinity Archer, so obviously covering Azaria's weak waves on like 10 and 12 and 14. It's just a really nice roll, even with the Bone Warrior as well, like decent tank value when you want tanks, but also like the steroid of the Dark Mage is super strong with both Azaria and Trinity Archer.
Okay, we have very interesting masterminds here.
Steed as well, Shadow. This is like a perfect roll.
But look, we also have Adams with Chaos trying to find naturally this answer with Divine Blessing. He's gonna start Nightmare to secure it, but he can still find other stuff with it. Viderson is still looking for a carry for the Divine Blessing, while King Dans here found the Priestess as well.
Oh, and King Dans has the Priestess and the Ranger, by the way, which is nearly, I'm going to say, on par with the power level of Priestess Mask. Like, it's a really strong opener, but actually he goes with a Flower, which I find kind of surprising.
Yeah, it's a little bit dangerous here for Viderson and King Dans, both starting with AoE units. But Viderson does have Casket, Looter, and Angler as a start, which
Mhm.
are 3 units that complement themselves pretty well in
Yep.
the early game.
Yeah, for sure. And I really like what Widdowson did here with his redraw, actually. He kept redrawing, he hit the looter, he placed a couple of looters, and then he redraw again. Like, he places them because then he can afford to take it out of his roll if he wants to. It turns out he didn't find a replacement this time, but I like the way that he did that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's a skill with free draw to know when to place down a unit and then know when to reroll. If you reroll instantly, you can still have it on the board.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a skill with free draw, and that's a skill that Vidderson has.
I'm kind of surprised that Julian didn't reroll wave 1. Honestly, like, his roll is amazing. Clearly, it's amazing. But you can reroll on 1 and try to hit some, obviously, Mask is the dream, but
Yep.
he can quite easily drop his Priestess because you only need 1 and see what else he can find in his reroll.
Currently, the weakness of Julian is that he's lacking a little bit of tanks because he is mixing up 2 rolls together. He's going with the Priestess Archer as well as the Ocean Templar Gate. So it's 2 rolls that doesn't work really well together if you think of it. But if he does it on future wave tanks, it will be better. So I do expect that after the first Archer is down, he will start to reroll to potentially replace the archer or the priestess for that said tank.
Yeah, definitely.
And no sense on 3 is a little bit surprising, especially against Adams. I can understand against Vidderson and King Dance, but a little bit of a surprising no send here against Nightmare on 3, being it so strong on wave 4.
Maybe he's just going all the way to 5.
I mean, with 2 pack rats here on the board, that could be a possibility.
Now, Julian does go with a Fiend's End here. He's obviously not really expecting to leak Widdowson with that.
I mean,
but
he's not
Widdowson's
expecting it, but it might happen.
It might, especially
The
if Julian has
casket
the
will
snail.
die quite fast. The
No.
gargoyle will die quite fast also.
I wonder, I think if this dies before it gets off a single spell, then this might end up being a pretty big leak, but I don't see that happening. I think it should at least get 1 spell off.
Yeah, it will get 1 spell off, but does it get the second? Looks like the aggro seems
Well, really good
equal.
aggro. Really favourable aggro there for Widdowson. It might even get the second spell off like this.
Yeah.
It does,
So-
then it should be a pretty comfortable hold. Meanwhile, Julian got the 80 send, but with his Priestess and Steed combo, he's doing more than fine. Easy hold there for him as well. So it's a bit of a wash, right? Like, all the players holding their sends, and still nobody's leaked a wave yet.
Yeah, but currently what is happening is that everybody has a strong opener. So this means that this game will go to the mid game.
Yeah.
And they all know that Divine Blessing is within it. And there's one thing that Julian needs to be careful with. There is Giant Snell in the game. Now, you might say, but you sacrifice Divine Blessing for it. The thing is, if you take Giant Snell and go for a resend on 11 against this potential Priestess Divine Blessing, there is a chance you kill the Divine Blessing right away on
And
wave
just
11.
delete their Legion spell.
Yeah. So it might be something they look for if they get Julian big on 10.
Mm-hmm. Now, there was just an income resend here against Kingdans, but he will of course be completely fine against that, so it's just the Dams pushing up his income, and we can see why actually, because Widdowson has 140 Mythium already stored away there. He's going to go for a big boy send sooner or later, and when do you think that's going to come? If we have a look at Adam's build, he's not incredible on 6, like a Drake or something could really do wonders here.
The thing that they can look for is to go 7, because since Vidder is going to go for a big send, he's going to guarantee the leak on Adams. But
yeah.
Julian is super weak on 7 as well. So this means that if they join, they're going to get some early king damage. And
Julian
that's
will
especially
have his Azeria, so he's placing the Grawl here. He's going to shift via the Azeria. But if King Dance gets a Mimic, the Azeria will still leak.
Yeah, so he's going for it. Okay, there is still a chance that the Azeria survives to the Mimic, and that is only if the Steed survives.
Okay.
Somehow. I don't know how it could happen. A large portion of the wave going onto the Azeria can be the thing.
All right, we do have the income resends here. Widdowson is feeling somewhat under pressure, I guess, because the rest of his build is so bad on wave 6, so he didn't hunt either one of his pack rats. I'm not sure that I agree with that. Like, I think he would have been completely fine to leak small here, but maybe thinking that Kingdans is not the strongest on this wave either, they just decided to play it safe.
Yeah, I mean, he already has enough Mythium for Mimic, he has enough Mythium for an Ogre. You don't need the extra Mythium if you're Witherspoon. Secure your hold here allows you to full push Treasure Hunt because you have this casket potential.
Wait, Shadow, he's going to pro leak anyway, even with both pack rats above ground. Oh no, this is really dangerous now for Odams and Julian. These sends are going to be absolutely massive here. And we see the Ogre from Kingdans, we see the Pack Leader and Brute from Widdowson, actually.
I mean, I don't dislike the Pack Leader if he's unsure if it's a Swift tank coming up or a fortified one. So it does buff the wave and also buff the blobs here.
Yeah.
Some people forget, but they do a lot of damage with Pack Leader.
They do. And we were talking about the Azeria somehow magically surviving a Mimic send. Well, I've got bad news.
Yeah, okay, that's not going to happen now.
That is not going to happen. There's no way she survives against the Ogre.
And that's gonna hurt because, yeah, I mean, now Julian banks on the getting to the mid game with the Divine Blessing.
Dams is sniping the Brute there. He did very skillfully roll a second Nightmare for wave 7 with Chaos, so he's got a pretty good unit for the wave. But Julian leaking 86% over there. That Ogre's going to do some serious king damage. Adams is doing extremely well here, though, 52%. But that is a pack leader making it through to the king, so that's going to buff all of Julian's leaks as well. And this is going to be some serious damage here on wave 7.
Yeah, we're talking about maybe 50% remaining, maybe lower than that. And we do see a small leak from Witherspoon, but he's going to be quite happy with that.
He's fine with that, yeah. And these guys are straight down to 62% HP. So this is a bit of a reversal of what we saw in the previous game, where Julian and Adams got first blood on wave 5, and then went for a really long save against Kingdans and Widdowson. I was going to say, let's see if King and Widdowson decide to return the favour, but no, Kingdans has just taken his income here again with a double DT send. Though Julian, of course, will be able to hold this quite easily, I would think, with his Azeria, without even having to build.
The difference here in comparison to last game is that we do have good options for Adams on wave 10 with the Nightmares.
Yep.
So he will be able to cover Julian on wave 10. So maybe they don't aim for wave 10 send here this time.
I wonder when they want to go. Like, Kingdans is looking pretty, I mean, very good on 9 with his Violet and his Deathcat potential, but he's also looking pretty solid on 10 with his Daphne that he has on the board. And Widdowson, of course, is just going to have a Kingpin on presumably next wave, but definitely by wave 10.
I think, like, I might be wrong, but I think Widdowson and Kingdans will not go Divine Blessing this game. I think they're going to utilize a lot of Assault.
I think Widdowson certainly won't take the Blessing. He hasn't really got a good candidate for it. King
I mean, he still has
might.
2 rerolls.
He still has rerolls, yeah. He could hunt for something. But you're right, like, if it's great to have that super late game Divine Blessing carry, but you don't need it if you can just win the game on wave 11 or 12.
Yeah, and I think that if they go 11, Adams is going to struggle quite a bit. Yes, Julian has the Azeria, but he doesn't have a frontline for 11, and he's preparing 10.
Yeah, he's going to have that Trinity Archer on the board for wave 10. Worth pointing out, by the way, that the Trinity Archer will tank before the Azeria, which is kind of an unfortunate consequence of the range of those units. So the unit that you want to stay alive the longest pretty much always dies before the Azeria on wave 10.
That's what you think, because it only happens if you have an upper split.
Yeah, okay,
if you don't have an upper
tank
split,
first.
the Azeria tanks first.
Okay.
But wave 10 comes out.
And Widdowson is just going for income against Adams, so not really expecting to be able to leak him. Adams would have to sell something like this Aqua if he wants to get... And he sells the Aqua, he makes the Doppelganger, so he's going to be completely fine. And Julian, he does, of course, get the Trinity Archer. He does raise the split as well, so the Trinity Archer will tank for the Azeria. But this should be a pretty solid leak, actually, with the Ogre coming out from Kingdans.
I do think this is a mistake. When you're playing Priestess and you try to upper split, I understand it when you have Mask, because then the Mask act as Swift tanks.
Yep.
But even with Daphne's, because then the
Oh,
Daphne's debuff work.
he's sniping the
Oh
ogre.
my god,
This
what?
is so good for Julian. The
Oh,
Azaria
it's
goes
because of the
straight
DT.
on the ogre.
It's
This
the
is
DT.
so good. So he's still going to
It's the
leak, of
DT.
course, but it's going to be tiny. Yeah, the DT was a mistake there from King. I think you always send a lizard in this case.
Yep.
And this is exactly why, because it gives potential for the Azaria to slight the ogre.
I mean,
Now, Adams, he is
it always
holding.
happens. It always happens when you have Trinity Archer, Leviathan, or Mask.
Yep.
Because then the mercenary is damaged.
But these were big sends from Julian and Adams as well, and both King Downs and Widdowson hold them quite comfortably. So it's starting to look pretty rough for Julian and Adams in game number 2. Both King and Widdowson on fire, in fact. 50 gold shutdown for King, 25 for Widdowson. Yeah, this is a tough one now.
I mean, it's a tough one, but we do have Divine Blessing on Julian and Adams, and these Divine Blessing are covering each other pretty well.
Yep.
Doppel very strong on wave 14, Azaria very strong on 15. So those two builds does cover themselves pretty well. So entering the mid game, I think Adams and Julian have a somewhat of an advantage in terms of choosing the wave to send on. Now it's just a matter of making it happen.
Yeah. Oh, Widdowson does take the blessing, actually, for his Kingpin.
I mean, King Dan's hiding Divine Blessing, but I think that showing the Priestess here
Yeah.
kinda says
Showing
that
the
he has
Priestess
Divine.
is the same as saying that you have Divine Blessing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he probably just didn't want to lose it, right? Like, he doesn't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
the gold to
because
turn
it was
into an
taking too
Azaria
much.
here, so he just doesn't risk it.
So what needs to happen now for Julian is to have a very low split with Azaria and bank on those steeds. And I do think that Julian and them, I don't want to make any assumption, but I do think that with those Divine Blessing, if they want to come back in this game, they might want to look at wave 15, a long save to 15.
I can see that being a solid option. Like, 13 was maybe looking decent, but with this egg popping from Widdowson, there's just absolutely no chance. And King having the Divine Blessing Azaria of his own, I mean, he's just going to be an absolute machine on that wave.
I mean, we're gonna check on this Priestess because this is not an Azaria yet. So I'm not. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's gonna survive here, but
Yeah,
it's
it definitely survived. It only pulls 3 creeps.
It's me being too dramatic here, but King doesn't know this stuff.
And Widdowson, of course, getting his free egg here, so a nice play there from him.
The downside of this egg though is that these 9 workers. Also, we are past wave 10, so the workers are more valued than the rats right now.
Yeah.
So he will have less Mythium. I mean, not much less, but less Mythium than the others to send. So Adams with Divine Blessing Doppel and double lifesteal, by the way, might do
Very
well,
solid.
and that's going to be a Shadow Dancer as well added to the mix.
Although currently he hasn't updated the head chef, so it's just double butcher, which is interesting.
I mean, it's still more than 1 butcher, right? 2 times the meat.
Fresh meat.
Yeah.
Alright, so all players holding their nerves, storing their Mythium here.
I think King Dans and Widdowson are in a pickle now because, I mean, sending 15 onto Julian seems a monumental task. I'm not sure it's possible.
Yeah, but Adams will almost certainly lose his blessing there, although he has just rolled a priestess of his very own. Oh, they go for an income send. They're feeling the pressure here.
They fear they want to target Julian, but that opens up 16.
Yep.
And
well, it opens up 16, but Adams actually is a god on 16 with his divine blessing doppelganger, and he has honeyflower for decap potential.
So that might be their gamble. That might be their gamble here. They say, okay, if you don't send us here, what's your send then? You're gonna starve yourself? So I think that's what they're asking the King Dans and Widdowson.
The dams is even hardening, so they really are fearing this wave 14 send. And actually their value is super low, so I can see why they're scared.
I mean, it makes sense because yes, Adams is possibly holding the 14 with Divine Blessing
Yep.
with the Doppel, but Julian is its weakest wave. It's its weakest wave, so
Does King Dams ever lose his Azeria here?
wait, it might be a possibility with all those Cannoneers.
Oh, the focus is just so good though. Cannons? Cannons? Oh, she heals again.
Yeah, but hello, there's no more front line. Okay, no,
But
I think it's
the
fine.
thing's still taking. That was super close though. He nearly went down. Alright.
So everybody still has the Divine Blessing. Venderson can now push workers, but he's going for another egg.
Adams even rolls the APS here. This Doppel is going to be absolutely huge.
It's not only the Doppel, it's the Shadow Dancer too.
Yeah.
He's lacking a bit of tanks though for the Shadow Dancer, so we're gonna see what he does for 16.
He's popping some more tanks down, just using that nice cost-effective Royal Guard there.
Okay, I think Julian's not gonna like me for saying that, but I think his play for 16 is to sell the Bone Crusher and the Bone Warrior.
And just
Your
let
best
the
bet
Azeria
on
tank.
16 is to all in on the Azeria. Does
Yeah.
make him vulnerable to Centaurs, but I have a feeling that the King Dan's gonna go for Needlers, and it might get lost with all those steeds.
Look at this thing. Just the damage that it deals with so much steed mana is absolutely insane.
So we have Julian and Adams going for income.
King Dans and Widdowson, okay, they haven't pulled the trigger yet. Do they even go for a 17 send? Yes! They're
Okay.
teeing this one all the way to the bank, Shadow.
I mean, they have Kingpin, Divine Blessing. I mean, yeah, is there holding here?
I mean, does he care if he doesn't? They're not
all
going
depends
to
if-
die here, and it just guarantees lethal on 17, pretty much. Yeah,
Depends on the
Adams
size of
is
the
hardening
leads.
here, by the way.
Oh,
they-
okay, yeah.
And Julian did exactly what you said, by the way. He's going for a really high split on the Priestess, so she's going to tank quite a lot, and just hoping that he can keep that thing alive. But the Send does not come here.
I still think the Crusher is still too much here for the Azeria, because it brings still a lot. But I think the split is okay for 17. Now, it's still possible for Julian to do a miracle here and hold. I mean, enough steeds, you one-shot everything, right? There's no cap on the stacks,
And
I
you were
think.
worried about Widdowson's blessing, by the way, but King Dance has just lost his. Widdowson actually stays alive.
Yeah, and King Dance is doing a pro league.
Oh, this is so bad
It's
for
a
Julian
shutdown,
Dance.
75.
75 gold, I mean, it helps, but the Sends are going to be enormous. King Dance already has nearly 1,100 Mythium stored up.
Okay, we need... Okay,
Double
two
Needler,
Needlers.
triple Needler, holy moly.
Yeah, and what does Adams have in this Chaos role? Looks like he's gonna go for King Claws, looks like his best option.
Yeah, King Claw, I mean, it's a solid option. It's a shame that he hardened last wave, otherwise he could have upgraded these to Golems and hardened them here. But, I mean, they were just feeling under insane pressure, right? You can't fault him for
Yeah,
making
so
that
it
call.
makes sense. It makes sense. More steeds here coming up from Julian. I think Centaur would have been slightly better than the Needlers.
I think the Needler is enough. The Send is so
yeah,
massive.
yeah. I mean, 3 Needlers, yes, but I think maybe putting a Centaur out there would have been quite fine. It does disturb the Archer as well, so.
And he is just relying on an Azeria Miracle, making it tank so much, but it's not going to be enough, even with all... Oh, or is it? Hello? Azeria? Azeria?
I think Azaria's not thinking enough. Azaria was not thinking enough.
It tanked a lot, it nearly went down, and now it goes, and that's 168%
But,
there for Burns.
hello?
The Dams? King Dan's leaking, Widdowson does hold. It's not quite enough. The Four Eyes was able to overwhelm the Doppel there, even with all of the buffs. 60% leak on a Dams, and I think this has to be lethal, right? With triple Needler reaching the King.
I mean, I would imagine so. I don't see a word would they survive here. And yeah, it will be enough. It's largely enough.
Oh,
If not, I mean, Adam was damn near close to holding. Imagine those Hardened Monuments. Might have made a difference.
the Hardened Mudmans almost certainly would. Like if he could have just put his gold into golems here instead of Kingclaw and Hardened, I think he probably would have held. But yeah, really, really close game
I mean, that
there.
was 10 to 17. Tribute to
Wow.
Aviator, I believe, right?
Wow. I mean, they're just
to be honest
absolute
with
giga
you-
tryhards.
To be honest with you, I'm surprised they sent on 14 on Julian and the Dams. I know they were quite undervalued, but they still had the Divine Blessing with Doppel, which is very, very impressive on 14. He also had the Harden, so very surprised, especially with Vidar showing the egg, indicating he was low workers too.
Yeah. But
So
I
I
mean,
would
this...
say slight misplay by Julian and Adams here a little bit.
Sure, but this 1200 Mythium send from King Downs was just insane. Like Julian had no hopes of holding that.
Oh, yeah,
He did extremely well. His Azeria tanked very, very well. Like it almost went down, but with all of those Pegasus keeping it stacked full of mana, it was able to survive just barely. But in the end, the triple Needler was just too overwhelming for him, and that was lethal. It was pretty close actually. And if Adams had had those Hardens, we might have seen this game go another few waves.
Yeah, it would have been Adams and Julian with the benefit of value. So still needed to go through 100% King HP, but later in the game it's a little bit easier to maybe one-shot.
Yeah. And yeah, I think you're right. Like if Julian and Adams didn't do this wave 14 send, then Widdowson and King Downs almost certainly would have had to send 15 into Julian's strongest wave, right? Because otherwise Widdowson and King Downs are just going to leak way too much against the 600, 700 Mythium sends coming their way on 15.
Yeah, and even if they decide to go 14, it's now you that can decide the wave, and 16 into 18 is much better for you than it is for King Downs and Widdowson.
Man, what a game. Okay, so Shadow, we have got a tied series on our hands. It's 1-1
Oh yeah,
for Abrasiet and Graal into Keep Graal, which does mean we get to see a game 3, so that's pretty hype.
I mean, that's what we wanted, eh? It's the start of 8-game series here.
Oh,
8-game
absolutely.
day, sorry.
Absolutely. But now we have Julian and Adams who get to choose the sending order. So interesting to see whether they want to swap that over with Julian sending into King Downs like they had in game number 1.
I think they will want that. I think it worked pretty well in game 1. I mean, of course, the pack rats made it difficult. Not gonna lie. I think no matter to who you're sending, if they have pack rats, it makes it very difficult to know what exact wave you want to go for.
Yep. Now,
so
so King Downs can't pick Cartel again now. He's just won with it in the previous game. Widdowson can't pick Redraw.
yeah, so I mean, the redraw was his pocket pick. I don't think Widdowson will go for the YOLO. I think now in the last game, it will be greed on Widdowson. Doesn't want to risk anything.
Mhm.
And then King Dance is the one that's going to be flexible, I think. Either the YOLO or the Chaos, depending on if there's Pawn Shop.
Yeah, I think if Pawn Shop, we will certainly see the double Chaos coming out from Adams and King Downs. Adams obviously still has Chaos available because he's just lost with it now. So yeah, pretty cool to see a double Chaos matchup with Pawn Shop in the game because it's like ideal scenario. And we have all the players ready, so we should have this game number 3 coming up pretty soon. I mean, guys, it's going to be a super exciting one.
I'm wondering here, another thing we could see is a Fiesta from Julian.
Oh, I would love to see Julian playing Fiesta in the all or nothing game 3. All right, guys, enough guesswork because here it is. Game number 3 is underway. We are about to see the mastermind picks. We're about to see the rolls. Let's get it on.
Are you not liking my predictions? But
Absolutely
we do have
loving them,
Predator
Shadow.
in the game here.
Okay, Predator, there's no pawn shop. So Adams actually takes the redraw. Shadow, your
the
research
redraw.
paid off.
Everybody playing it safe here, great all across the board except Adams here. Shifting from the chaos, going for the most stable redraw. And having the Shadow Dancer already, he might play around that.
I mean, it's still an insane carry unit, right? With Butcher or Ocean Templar or APS, it can pop off super hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's the stuff you can look for when you're playing redraw.
Yep.
Another thing you can look for is a Gate Guard opener. It's still possible with the mask. Also, he has Nightmare Oathbreaker as opener, so a lot of initial roll possibility here for Adams.
And we have King Dan's going for a Gate Guard opener, Widdowson with a Gatling gun opener. Kind of cool. Not the best rolls, I don't think, for those guys, but certainly not bad.
No. Vader has a very strong gun roll, but it would have been much better if this gun was an offset gun. Because there's one main issue with the mid gun. It's not gonna apply here, or will it? Yeah, I think it might. Is that normally with mid gun you're playing on either side of the gun, so you always have at one point a weak side and a strong side, and normally early on your weak side's always gonna collapse on your gun, and it can cause some problems in terms of aggro. But final roll here for Adam is going to be the Nightmare Oathbreaker. More stable, more carry potential. Starting with carry unit with redraw is often the better option. And Gate Guard is going to be chosen by Julian.
And that's only Adam's first roll, by the way, so he's got a pretty solid first roll. I probably expect to see him re-roll maybe on wave 4 or 5 to hunt for that Butcher.
Yeah, but I think he's more worried about wave 6 since he has the Oathbreaker, so maybe searching for that answer on 6 would be a better option. The Butcher is very good on 6, don't get me wrong, but maybe not placing it on 5.
Alright, Widdowson does get a Snail here on wave 2. He was forced to add a Chain Fist there because, of course, Julian tryharded on wave 1.
I mean, it's still very fine. You always want that Oathbreaker or Infiltrator on wave 3.
Yeah.
I think Infiltrator is better, yes. So now Widdowson being forced into the Chain Fist does open up a little bit weakness on wave 4, but Julian's gonna go for the Send here.
Julian gets his Fire Elemental out, so he's very strong now. He can quite easily either full push to the Send from King Dan's or go for a shift into Harbinger or whatever he wants to do, really. He's got the options.
Going for the Harbinger is a much better curve for him because he has an answer to a big tank on wave 8 in the Halo as well as the Orchids. So I do think he's gonna go for that Harbinger, push hard, and apply some pressure between 8 and 9.
Yep. Now we see the 40 Send against both Widdowson and Julian, but I expect both of them to be just fine.
Oh, but Widdowson did add the Infiltrator in the end, not going for the Oathbreaker.
I mean, it's better on wave 4 as well, right? I can understand why he would do that.
Yeah. I mean, that was my argument as well. I was thinking he was forced into the Oathbreaker, but he's just saying, I'm gonna build it anyway.
Now, all 4 players are on 6 workers. We do have an income send here from Widdowson. Adams obviously is just going to snack on that. But what this does do is it means that Adams is not really under much pressure on wave 5.
Yeah, he's perfectly fine. He's going to be perfectly fine here on wave 5 with double Oathbreaker. Also, we see the shift from Julian for the Harbinger and then full push.
Yep.
And I can already see here Adams is itching to send on 8.
Yeah, I can see King Dan's being pretty vulnerable. He does have the Serpent, of course, but Adams doesn't know that. But the Coiler is, of course, a very strong unit on wave 8.
It is very strong on wave 8. It is susceptible to a potential Hermit or Mole, changing the thresholds. But if King Dan's has enough frontline, which I do think he will have with the Pegasus, then it might not be an issue.
Alright, Julian placing his Infiltrator here. So he doesn't go for the Harbinger that we expected. He actually adds an Oathbreaker in the split.
He was a bit short. He had a 184 gold.
He could have sent a Snail, but obviously deciding it's not worth relieving the pressure on Widdowson and just build. I mean, this build is still very strong here.
Yeah, still very strong. I mean, Orchid is shown from Withersson. Does indicate that everybody's playing it safe here. And it's really a battle of who's saving the longest, it looks like. I mean, the two previous game has been decided to an early send here. So in terms of strong build, Withersson does have a more all-around build with the gun, strong DPS, also strong tanks for 7. 7 is also pretty good for King Dan's. Same can be said for Julian and also Adam. So yeah, so I'll take over while Penny fixes some stuff. So
All
7.
right, sorry about that, Shadow. I am back.
Yeah, all good. 7. I mean, I feel like people will send 7, but I don't think 7 is a good send against anybody.
Yeah, I can certainly see this going all the way to 8 now. King Dan's does show his Serpent here, so the wave 8 that Adams was maybe angling towards is looking slightly less appealing now, but there's still options against the Serpent, right? Like you can send a Mole and that reduces its DPS by 50%, stuff like that, you know? It can be played around, for sure.
It's so starved. Oh my god, King Dan's sending solo.
Okay. Maybe King
Hello?
Dan's has pulled the trigger a little bit too early here.
I mean, yeah, Julian does have double Aqua, vulnerable to a possible Mo. So we might see a leak on the side of Julian, but it's gonna be covered by Adams.
Julian does have the 0 gold buff though, so interesting to see how he does here. And Aqua's are really strong on wave 7, even against them all.
So Adams did reroll here to find the cat, so it's a possible good tank here for his Nightmare. I think he's gonna still search here, but I think the send has to come from Julian and Adams.
It has to, right? Like, the Coiler is already out for King Dan's, but they've been saving for so long.
I mean, right now, it's all on Julian holding now, next wave.
Now, Julian will leak here, but, I mean, he's absolutely fine here. This is 44%.
I mean, is that the leak?
Yeah, and Adams, of course, is going to fully cover this in the mid. I think they're really happy with the way this one played out. And there's an Ogre from Adams.
I don't dislike it. There is one thing that is important to note here on King Dan's build. He has a split.
He does,
say,
and that can
that's
open
good.
up the
I have a
Coiler,
split.
right?
Yeah, but the split turns always on the Coiler if you have a big tank.
Yep.
And that big tank is the Ogre. So he just needs to add a Snell, ensure the Ogre is away from the wave, and then the wave will turn to the Coiler.
All right. I mean, Widdowson is looking really solid on this wave. He, of course, has the gun, but he has 4 veterans as well. Like, you never really want 4 veterans on your board.
Yeah, so even if this send is not successful for Julian, he's gonna be very happy to see 4 veterans.
Yeah, they've really forced Widdowson into a bit of an uncomfortable looking build there. But also, can you imagine if they were somehow able to skip this wave and go on 9?
King Dan's knew what was up, and he
Oh,
protected
but the Ogre's still
by going
alive!
king.
The Ogre's still alive! It dies now, but... Man, actually, he's just fine. He has 1,000 value, the Coiler is just...
But what saved him is the buzz, the King Dan split that Widdowson calls.
Now, Adama's actually coming the worst off for this one, so Julian fully holding, Widdowson fully holding, King Dan's leaking a single creep, and Growling to keep Growl. It looks like they have another rough game ahead of them.
I mean, you see they come out worse, but in terms of build, I mean, the build of Julian is still quite reasonably strong at the moment. The one of Widdowson is very weak on wave 12. Same goes for the one on King Dan's.
The real problem is that they're already quite far behind in workers. 8 workers apiece for Julian and Adams, while Widdowson and King Dan's have 10 and 11 on this side.
I think they're playing around the Creditor. I think they want to go for the Creditor themselves and go for 12 cent. They're expecting Vidder and King to potentially go 11, I do presume.
I can see that.
But normally in a starved game like that, people are more than happy to take Creditor to the no send, because normally, I say normally, because it can always change, people will send Income King to take it themselves. So maybe playing around that on the side of Adams and Julian.
Oh, and actually, Wilson is just leaking no send here on wave 9. Yeah.
Okay, now it's I mean, it's really a question of who has the strongest nerves of steel this game.
Yep. Now, Julian and Adams should have the value advantage because, of course, they stayed on 8 workers.
Yeah, we do see Adams did shift. Oh, they're going for a
There
10
is a
cent.
full send on wave 10. An income from Adams. And a full send from
is it-
Julian. Okay.
Ooh, okay. It's not what I was expecting, but
Widdowson's going to have to sell 2 units if he wants to get the Vulcan cannon up here. And it looks like he does. Okay.
he doesn't have enough frontline for it, though.
He really doesn't, right? And the double brute send can be pretty lethal against this. I assume that
Double
Julian does send
quarter.
a lizard instead of snails here, just because he doesn't want those brutes getting sniped.
I mean, 2 snails on King Dance. The pack is in danger of getting sniped, but I think this time he wants that to happen.
Yeah, because it's a
Because
fortified tank.
It
right?
delays the Halo a little bit. Oh no,
the
the Halo
Halo's
is on the
straight on the boss. But there is some decent amount of split fire on the pack leader there. I'm not sure. It must be the Harbingers attacking it. It's going to go down. The pack leader is dead. And meanwhile, the Halo continues to ramp.
Vidar leaks only a brute here.
But Adams is
no,
leaking even with
Yo.
the Doppelganger. Widdowson holds, King Dance holds, Julian and Adams both leaking. And if the game wasn't looking rough before, it certainly is now. They have really low workers, they both leak here.
I think Julian and Adams need to do something proactive here. They need to go for wave 12 all in. It has worked in the past against Adams and against Vidar and King Dance, but they're going counter attack but sending themselves here a DT.
Interesting.
So who's gonna leak here? If I
I don't know.
was Julian and Adams, I would force a leak here. Maybe they don't want to force a leak. It's very difficult situation because if you force a leak, you say to Widdowson and King Dance, I'm sending on 12.
They're full sending.
Full sending. They expect
Okay.
a creditor?
I mean, Widdowson is looking like
Oh
he's
wait, they
thinking
counter
about
attack.
Predator.
What? There's no creditor.
Okay. And Widdowson full build, so yeah, this maybe he's going to backfire for Julian and Adamus, but they needed to do something crazy, right?
Yeah. But I mean, I'm more surprised of Widdowson and King Dance taking counter attack.
Maybe they were expecting this resend, they just read it perfectly. Maybe they think with a full build they can both pro league and get full value. Obviously they have 100% HP, so they're not in danger of dying here.
I mean, we have a hold on both King Dance and Vidar, it looks like.
Yeah, that's going to hold. Okay, and now just look at the worker situation, Shadow. 17 workers for Widdowson,
I mean,
17 workers for King Dance, and Burnt and Adams are really falling further and further behind now. Even Jules is giving them an 80% chance to win the game here.
I think it's a slight mistake here from Julian and Adams too. I understand the reasoning. You don't want to give a free first shot of creditor, but I think you were in a position to try and go for maybe a full push from Julian because he does send to a gun, and if he does pro leak on 11, it's still a very large send to try and deal with for Widdowson and King Dance.
Yeah, definitely.
So when's the finishing blow? I mean, there's no auras from Adams.
He still has one reroll left in the tank, so he could look for something, but I mean, his build is already kind of filled out. He doesn't have a slot for a butcher. Like, the white main Doppel is not quite the same. They're going for a 13 send, though. Now, Julian is looking pretty decent on 13, honestly. He has Orchids, he has Halo.
I'll tell you one thing he doesn't have.
Tank value?
Yeah, I mean, just value in general.
Value in general, yeah, that is true.
We do see the white main Doppel. The problem is that where's the damage on Adams? So that's gonna be an issue.
Yep. And King Dance has pretty good answers here. He's got the Arc Tear. The send he's receiving is very small. Widdowson's receiving a Mimic, which might get through, honestly, even with the Avenger that he adds here. But I think the leaks on the side of Burnt and Adams are going to be just way worse. They're so far undervalued.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes out to that wave 8, and we questioned the Send of King Dance. It did enable them to get a bigger Send, but looks like they had too strong of a basis.
Julian does kill one Ogre, he does, 78% leak there. Adams leaks 109%, Widdowson leaks 81%, but that's fine. And the Whoopagoogers come out, I think it's all over.
It's all Ogre.
Wow.
And it's gonna be King Dance and Widdowson here advancing. Quite curious of what happened on the other side of the bracket. I'm gonna look for you if you want.
Yeah, let's go and have a look. Let us know what happened on the semi-final. But man, I mean, this was so close for the semi-final this side. Abrasiet taking it 2-1 against Graal to keep Graal, but man, both teams just played super well.
Yeah, I think I don't want to blame Julian and Adams. It was a very tough decision on game 2, situation on game 2. But I really think they had the real pressure to go 15 instead of 14.
Yeah. It's very generous of you to say you don't want to blame Julian and Adams. I think it's fair to say that you can blame Julian, of course, but you know.
No. In their situation, I would have sent also, because in those situations right? where you're in the semi-final, you're like, wait, but if they send here, we're kind of behind. But the thing, when you look back at their role and their position, like the double with Lifesteal and the Divine Blessing is almost unleakable on 14. If you leak, it's possibly only the 4-eye. So when you look at it at an outside perspective, it's way easier. I think they're gonna look back and they say, yeah, okay, makes sense. But it's really this like disheartening, because they were in a position where they could have made something happen. Game 3, they tried something risky to go 8, but the asynchronous sense from King Dance and Widdowson did allow King Dance to hold a bit better.
Yeah, I mean, both Widdowson and King Dance had 1,000 value on wave 8 in this game. Like, it's such a starved game. Everyone is so low in workers, and the sends are, you know, smaller than they would otherwise be. And yeah, like this one kind of went out of control pretty quickly for Julian and Adams. But still, like, these guys, they're at the top of their game. They play super well, and the series was really close. In the end, though, Abrasiet do take this one, so we are going to see them in the semi-final. And Shadow, do you have any info for us on the second semi-final?
It was a 2-0 for the underdogs.
Okay.
So that's gonna be Lucy and Drashir facing off against Vidda and King Dance. I think both teams are gonna be pretty happy about the matchup they're getting. I think Drashir and Lucy have been waiting for a long time to have their rematch here against them, prove that they are no longer the underdogs and the favorite. But I mean, to be honest, like right now, they are pretty much the underdog going into it. Even though Lucy showed pretty good strength in the ladder.
Yep.
Tournament experience, always the subject at hand, and always coming back.
Yeah, 100%. And I say this pretty much every single month that Drakir and Lucy make it to the finals, but surely, Shadow, surely this month is their month, right? They're always the bridesmaid, never the bride. This time, let's see Drakir and Lucy walk it down the aisle and take the cup home. Come on, underdogs.
I want to say, last year, we did have on February, SSP and Aviator take it. Yep. So it was 2 different winners, 2 months in a row. So due to the long history of Nova Cups, of course it's gonna be a different winner this time, right?
Has to be. All right, Shadow, I think we should take a quick 5-minute break to give the teams time to settle their nerves, maybe even 10 minutes in that case, because that was a really intense semi-final, and then we can meet back here in 7 or 8 minutes to have a bit of a preamble before we go into the game, and I will see you back here. So Twitch chat, make sure you don't go anywhere. We're going to have an absolutely insane grind finals ahead of us, and that will be in around 10 minutes time, so we'll see you guys then. Don't go anywhere.
Stage now.
Hello.
Hello, guys, and welcome back. We are about to have this month's epic final coming to a conclusion. We have Team Abrasiet, and they are playing up against the Underdogs. So it's a battle of two titans here, Shadow. Can you?
Yeah, I mean, two Titans, that is certain. I think they're the most two known duo on the ladder, if I'm not wrong. They do play a lot together, and I mean they have experience playing together with each other and against each other as well. They've basically met all the times in Nova Cup. I mean, most of the time.
Yeah, and we've seen these guys play out the final several times before. And as we said before the break, like Drakir and Lucy, they've so many times ended up in the finals and never once won it. So I, for one, would love to see them take home the trophy this month. But of course, you know, feelings and wishes are not what wins cups. So we'll have to see. And certainly Kingdans and Widdowson are not going to give them an easy road to that victory. So we'll have to see which of these two teams is able to clutch this one out. And I do know for sure that whatever happens, it's going to be one hell of a final.
Yeah, so I did not see much of the games of Drasher and Lucy of yesterday. I did see a couple, but I think it's gonna be very difficult because they are often joining up in the game with Castle in mind. And from what we've seen in this semifinal with Vidder and King Dance, early saves does not benefit Castle most of the time because then you get trapped into income sending quite a lot.
Yep.
So I'm a little bit afraid due to their mastermind option choices that I've seen. But they can be fast and aggressive if they want to and go
Fast and
for a
aggressive.
Fiesta.
I'd love to see Lucy whip out the Fiesta here. And with a best of 5 in Conquest format, I think that's actually pretty likely to happen, right? Like the winning team needs to have played 3 different masterminds on both of their players. And I know that Lucy is a very strong Fiesta player. So if it's going to happen, I think this might be the finals where it does.
Yeah, I mean, it's always difficult because you need to go through 3 masterminds option per players. I mean, from my perspective, what I want to see is King Dance or Vidison on Fiesta. I know they don't like it in tournament, and I know that when they play it, it can be very good. But I just feel like they want stable stuff during tournament. But if you're down 2-0 and you want to do something funky, Fiesta here and there could potentially turn it around.
Yeah. And it'll be really interesting as well to see the mastermind choices of King and Willison because we saw them use the redraw to great effect there, and obviously Cartel does seem to be Kingdan's favourite, so certainly expect to see them open with something like a redraw and a Cartel. But again, like if there's pawn shop in the game, then Chaos is definitely on the cards for Kingdan's in particular.
Not only for King Dance, it is for Dreshir as well.
Oh.
So there is a lot of adaptability. Drescher is one that plays a lot of Mastermind. He also played Fiesta, not on his main, but on his alt account when playing on off hours. And he was practicing a lot on it. So, I don't know. Maybe there's a Fiesta also on Drescher.
I think either way, this is just going to be a super exciting matchup. And it looks like all of the players are ready in the game, so we're going to have to stop guessing once again and start finding out. And here we go.
You don't like when I try guessing stuff, eh?
Absolutely love the guessing, Shadow. The analysis is on point as always. But Twitch chat, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. The grand finals of the February Nova Cup. We have Abrasier versus the Underdogs. Game 1, let's go!
Pawn shop alert!
Pawn shop, and there's the Chaos for Kingdans. He is an unashamed Chaos abuser.
Wait, King Dance gonna report Wilson here.
Yeah, Kingdans tagline, don't pick castle or else. And Widdowson, straight snap picking that castle.
Lucy Castle as well, so it's Clash of Castle.
Okay.
But there is one thing going in the favor of Witherspoon, and that's Lucy's castle sending onto him. So oftentimes you have less pressure receiving from the castle, but it can be different because Lucy is receiving from Sakura.
She is receiving from Sakura, so yeah, the early game pressure that might be difficult to combat when you're playing Castle is kind of alleviated there because King Downs is playing one of the slowest openers in the whole game.
Have you seen this positioning from King Downs?
He's moved it
Is he
slightly,
allergic
like
to the
half
wall?
a square away from the wall. What is he doing?
I don't know.
Okay, he's just baiting the casters.
Yeah, okay, yeah, makes sense. He just knew I would see it.
I gotta say though, the Pyro from Widdowson is a strange choice here because they really are showing the same weak waves now, like wave 7, wave 8, wave 10. Although he does have the casket, so maybe that's why.
The thing that is that he wants to have a wave 7 send because he has casket.
Yep.
I would presume he will hide it.
Yeah, and whip it out on 7.
Yeah, that's my guess. Drasher does play the superior offset gun also, so that's pretty good.
Oh, there it is, yeah. 1 square away from the middle.
And Lucy is going for the gate guard. With Nekomata, very strong opener.
Lucy, the only player in this game with a fast and aggressive opener there, the 5-worker gate guard start. Kind of risky actually with Castle because you can quite often find yourself unable to build the unit you want on wave 2 if you do get snailed on 1.
Yeah, but it was safe with the cat. That's the saving grace for Lucy. Also, Drescher playing with the treasure hunt, indicating that they want to control a little bit more the early game here, giving less choice to Witherspoon and King.
And again, Lucy just really not under any pressure from that Sakura start from King Downs, but his workers will catch up pretty soon. And we do, in fact, see Lucy pushing the 6th worker there to no send, knowing that King Downs just doesn't have that much Mythium stored.
And those are quite fast waves too, so that's important to note. So good recognition by Lucy as well.
Yep.
And only Witherspoon sending on wave 3.
Oh, if Widdowson goes for the 2nd snail here, I think Drakir can actually leak pretty decently. He is hunting his pack rat, and the only melee unit he has on the board is this golden buckler here, which is really bad on wave 3.
Widdowson went for the camp. He expects the non-treasure hunt as an answer, and that holds double snail. So
a
good
really
play
nice read there from
Drescher.
Drakir. Really nice read from Drakir.
But that puts Drescher in a very, very strong position. He doesn't have a weak wave to speak of right now, according to the units he has on the board.
And Widdowson's kicking himself when he sees this. In fact, this is going to leak, right? Even against single
extended
snail.
wave, that's good. That's very good. They have the worker advantage for a long time, and they didn't send.
They didn't send, but neither did King Dance. So Lucy still has to respect that. But yeah, Widdowson got to be kicking himself here with that king upgrade. If he sent the 2nd snail, this leak on Drakir would have been really bad, I think.
This wave is just so long. Hermit from Lucy is possible, potentially. So Widdowson might be forced to show the casket here.
He might have to, yeah. There's that 80 Mythium, there's that Hermit from Lucy. Alright, Widdowson, he doesn't have
he doesn't have enough for
130.
casket.
He's going to have to place 2 bucklers, or a Devilfish maybe.
Devilfish is the best option.
Alright, Lucy, she doesn't get a snail to go with the Hermit, which is very fortunate for Widdowson. King Dance is going for a full send as well, by the way, so there is a brute snail coming out from him into Lucy's lane. She also has the Devilfish, but her Nekomata only having 3 stacks, it doesn't hit that magical 2-shot breakpoint against the wave 4.
It's a good pair up with the gate guard though.
That's true.
When they attack the same target, it's pretty good though.
Let's see if she can snipe this brute. The Devilfish is doing its job. It's tanking for a very, very long time. But it does now go down. Can she kill the brute? Looks like no. Meanwhile, Widdowson, he is leaking to the Hermit's end, but only very small. Lucy actually leaking more there to the brute snail. Is this enough to kill the Sakura though? 300 HP. I think it is. King down, Sakura going down.
I think that was their goal, trying to get an early stack out through Witherspoon's weakness.
Yep.
Interesting to note, both castle players are ahead in workers now.
Yeah, they are. Castle players on top where they like to be. Kingdans with 6 workers. And this really hurts, by the way, the lost stack on the Sakura, because it makes all of his future waves that much more difficult as well.
Yes, and that's why it's very important to try and get that stack out early on, because then it's a little bit easier. It's very hard, but it's still a bit easier to get it. So
Alright,
no
nobody
resend,
resending here.
but there is one thing I'm afraid of, and this is the thing I'm
Oh, yeah.
afraid.
Widdowson has got some Mythium stored up, but Drakea's not scared here. So, correctly guessing that the send is not coming on wave 5, even though it could have been 120 sends, he's still hunting that pack rat.
Yeah, what I'm afraid of is with the sun going for the wave 7.
Straight 7
Which
could
in
be
theory
bad,
is
yeah.
very good, but there's a surprise in the roll.
Well, here it comes though. So it's just income. It's Drake, Snail, but this is still a very strong income send. Drakea could be in trouble.
I mean, it's the best power merc in the game here.
Yeah. But he's got
Positioning
solid
is correct
value.
from Drashir here. This buckler is essential to protect the range mercenaries attacking the gun, so that's a very nice knowledge. Drashir,
Okay.
hello? Range mercenary? That might be problematic because I think they can die here.
If the Drake goes on the gun, then yeah, he's in a lot of trouble. But it does
Okay,
not.
no,
It doesn't. It goes on to one of the infiltrators. It's still 160 Mythium send though. Oh wow, he's doing really well. He's just gonna hold, right?
Yeah, the gun DPS is very good on wave 6 because pierce damage is OP on wave 6.
Yeah, of course. That does make sense. Yeah. Oh,
It's just-
nice
it's-
hold there from Drakea. Very, very nice hold. And they just go for an income resend themselves on 7.
It's income. I think the income choice is very good from Drashir also on the Sakura. It's targeting the tanks rather than the Sakura. I think that's a very nice decision.
Yep.
We do have the casket from Widdowson, and that's why Lucy went for income as well.
Widdowson's even shifting 100 gold here, it looks like.
I mean, very confident in the casket, which is understandable, preparing for an answer for wave 8. That is the Phoenix, probably. Fire Lord, sorry.
This thing gonna get run down.
Die.
Kingdans did hunt a pack rat here, and he's definitely losing this Sakura stack, right?
I mean, he's leaking.
Yeah. So he's losing the stack, right?
I mean, if he's leaking, probably.
Yeah, that tracks. Widdowson, meanwhile, oh wait, Widdowson can never kill this Drake, right? He can never kill the Drake.
I don't think he kills it.
Kill leaks 20% to a snail. But yeah, the Drake is just happily 1v1ing the Maiden here. Wait, if he gets the spell, then maybe? Oh, but no. So
leaking damage.
He is Drake shamed here. And this is first. Well, okay, there was first blood earlier, but this is the first real leak here where the King's going to take some decent damage.
It was fake blood early on.
Fake
This
blood.
one is real blood.
Was but a scratch. And here comes a big boy send from Kingdans. This is an ogre with a couple of snail friends walking into Lucy's lane, and this might just overwhelm the Lord of Death.
It might just, but Drashir looking pretty strong here on wave 8. Did build accordingly to protect Lucy. The gun is not protected currently, but can add a looter to protect it.
He's even hunting his pack right here, so Drakea feeling pretty confident on this wave. And Lucy probably feeling okay because she has that Lord of Death, which is a really strong unit on wave 8. Problem is, the Ogre's a really strong mercenary as well.
I think Lucy felt pretty safe on this wave too.
The gun is
that's
protected
why
from Drakea.
Oh wait, I lives.
Oh, the Ogre is dying pretty quickly.
Looter.
So the Harbinger is rushing that down. Does it get a second summon? It does not, just barely missing that second summon. That would have been really clutch. Look at this Daphne though, talking about clutch. That survived a lot longer than it could have.
Drashir does leak a little bit.
Does leak. Waldo? Drakea, you got the income send. Your teammate got the 240 send. You're supposed to hold here, my friend.
I mean,
I think that's Lucy's unsure pings coming out. There's certainly a lot of them. She's screaming Waldo down the mic.
Waldo! It's like I'm doing a Wilson kind of variation of Waldo.
Yeah. And that's kind of a costly mistake, actually, because what could have been an easy cover there from Drakea ends up being 20% king damage shaved off the side of the underdogs.
Yeah, I mean it's equal king HP. We do have a worker advantage with Drashir though. That was the upside of what they did. Drashir is pushing very aggressively and treasure hunts every wave. King Dance feels like he's doing something similar, but he's a little bit lower on workers. In terms of Mythium generated currently, Drashir is ahead by 50 due to the worker advantage.
Yep. And Widdowson is forced to stay really high value just because he's so weak on wave 10.
Doesn't
He's,
have an
he's
answer
plus
for 10 at
140
cost.
here. Disgusting overbuild there in lane 1 from Widdowson.
I wonder if this is spotted by Lucy and Drashir. Oh, they still go 10. They still go
Still go
10.
for
I think
this
that's
end,
a
yeah.
very nice choice in the end still.
It makes sense because there's only like defensive or economist spells available, so the wave 11 send becomes much less appealing.
And I think that Drashir and Lucy are now going to go for a long save with Embargo. I
That
think
makes
they
sense,
recognize
yeah.
that this is a chaos from King Dance.
That makes sense for sure. And King Dan's is almost definitely taking the pawn shop, right? Even though Embargo is so good, especially after a wave 10 send.
Yeah, and I think Embargo is safe for Lucy and Drashir because they have the gun to cover 12. 11 might be an issue, but they're going to receive a send here, so that's going to be solving the issue.
And Drakir is even feeling the need to boost his Orchid here. That's 19 gold he'll never see again. He's only receiving an income send.
I'm quite curious about something. What's the interaction between Pawn Shop and Sakura?
You can make a profit from it. I think actually the Sakura, because it gains 30 value every wave after wave 10, I think you can make a profit after one wave. Only a small one of like 2 or 3 gold, but yeah, interesting interaction. King Dan's leaking 59%, Lucy leaking to the income send there 60%. That's not ideal. And Widdowson will leak as well, despite being 1475 value here on wave 10.
I think Lucy was perfectly aware she was not holding wave 10 here.
Yeah, with her Harbinger and Lord of Death. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why Drashir did not treasure hunt this way.
So they take some damage, but not a huge amount, and of course Drakir is able to fully cover his teammate. So let's see. Embargo coming out from Drakir, presumably the same from Widdowson and Lucy. King Dan's, what is your choice here? Will you take the Embargo along with everybody else, or is Pawn Shop Chaos just too overpowered?
I think his answer is going to be Pawn Shop.
He's making us wait.
I mean, Drashir and Lucy are doing their play according to that singular choice from King Dance, but he does go for the Embargo.
He goes for the Embargo, yeah. Interesting choice there. I mean, I can see why, because Embargo is just so very, very strong. Like, the amount of gold is pretty good, 80 gold, but the 80 Mythium on top, you just get so much resource from that spell.
There is one big issue, though. Both the build of Widdowson and King Dance are weak on 13.
Yeah, and now King Dance won't be able to just sell his Trinity Archer for something else.
Yeah, and I mean, what I fear, okay, hear me out, it's a long shot, but I fear that Drashir expect King Dance to be on the Pawn Shop and not send 13.
That'd be an interesting one, yeah. Like, can they just afford to skip? And Drakir just has 3 pack rats, so he will have that extra impact swift value on wave 13 if they do decide to skip, but it's still a risky proposition with the Embargo send coming out from Widdowson and King Dance.
Yeah, Drashir is not going to build too much here. Okay, no, he's gonna build full. Okay.
But Widdowson is just so weak though on 13. Like, sure, he can add a Phoenix, but because he's playing an AoE build, that's even quite difficult to do, right? Like, he'll need to add a split.
I mean, what he will need is, yeah, add the split and turn around into the AoE roll after that.
Yep.
So the split needs to not be ranged, and so it's a Devilfish at best, or a Varg.
Oh, and Drakir getting the Millennium there in his reroll, looking pretty solid.
Yeah, he did not hide it, so Widdowson and King Dance are aware. And
but everybody skips. Everybody skips. Let's see if we get a boost here from Drakir now, because this could be excellent mind games.
Yeah, I tell you, I think Drashir and Lucy just skipped because they expect King Dance to be on
Pawn Shop, yeah, so they want to make him waste some gold by selling that Trinity Archer or something, right?
Yeah. I think that's the only reason why they did that.
Yep. Now we do see the Doomsday coming out, but no, okay, only 10 gold boosted from Drakir there, so not the end of the world. But they will now see that there's no pawn shop on Kingdance.
Yeah, no punch up on King Dance. Now they're gonna kick themselves a little bit because King Dance is a little bit stronger. It's not okay. He's not insanely strong on 14. He's a little bit stronger on 13.
But they're quite happy not to send when they see this Phoenix from Widdowson, by the way, who did add the split as expected just to make sure the Phoenix tanks properly. And here comes the wave 14 send from everybody. We've got Needlers, we've got Four Eyes, we've got Ogres.
That's favoring Drashir and Lucy. The build of Drashir, yes, it has a lot of Swift, but he has those Cascade. Now, just now showing them.
And a Doomsday, of course, which is very, very good on wave 14 in its own right.
And no Ghost Knights, so that Doomsday is very effective here.
Yep. Lucy just getting the last bit of value out that she can afford. Widdowson, it does have the highest value in the game, it has to be said, but that also means he's sending less Mythium compared to everybody else.
Not a fan of the double fire from Lucy, but I do understand that she wants to deal with the Phoenix.
She wants to make sure the Phoenix goes down, and it does work. That Phoenix is down.
So, looking at Drashir, he's looking pretty decent. The wave is clear.
Yeah, Kingdance is very dead, by the way. And yeah, Drakir's just fully holding! Wow, that's so clutch! Lucy leaks 109%, Dan's leaks 111. Widdowson, he's doing really well as well. He's clearing nearly the entire wave, only leaking those range sends. Is that enough to keep them alive? They have a few King Ups, they have 64% HP, but this is a double Four Eyes, a Needler, and a Pack Leader. This is going to be insane damage.
So even if they survive here, Drashir and Lucy definitely take less damage, but it looks like the damage is pretty high here.
Oh, I think they are going to survive, but they're so low here. Going all the way down to 7%. Drakir and Lucy, they do take some damage as well, but they still have half of their King's HP remaining. So Widdowson and Kingdance, they can't afford a single mistake now. One more, even a small leak reaching the King, and it's game over for these guys.
No push from Lucy and Drashir, full push from Vidar and Kingdance. Looks like they want to go 16, while Drashir and Lucy are probably aiming to 17 here.
Drakir and Lucy, they're clearly aiming to tee this one all the way to the bank, so they're going for the classic overbuild and starve play. They're hiding their value as well, so Kingdance and Widdowson may be seeing that neither player have built here, even if they weren't planning to send on 16, well, they have to now.
They need to be careful on who's holding and how well they're holding and what's the build.
Yep.
Because Kingdance did not build a single unit here, so they need to be aware of that. Did they spot it?
But neither did Drakir and Lucy, right?
That is true. They did shift a lot of gold, but if there's a leak here, they won't be, or is Kingdance leaking?
It's close, but surely they can see from like how close this is to Kingdance leaking. They know he hasn't built anything here.
Kingdance is full pushing. They're going for the Hail Mary play here.
They are, knowing that Widdowson has the Pyros. And Drakir and Lucy, they do not send. So surely we're going to see Pack Rats kept above ground. Surely we're going to see boosted Orchids. But Drakir's building a Red Eyes here, which is just not the unit for Wave 16.
I would love to see the second upgraded gun over the Red Eye for now. The Red Eye is not good value here, but the second gun is good value here and next.
Now, what I will say is that Lucy has some really good tanks. Kingclaw, clearly the best unit in the game, but it's fantastic against Wave 16. It's fantastic against Ogres. And this Hades, with the double Leviathan buff, can absolutely pop off. Let's see how many dragons this thing can summon.
Okay, Drashir, the idea is that Lucy prepares for here and Drashir
Kingdance is even selling units. He's down to below 2k value, so he's going to leak the entire wave to nothing here. This is super clutch now. How well can Lucy and Drakir do against this suicide play from Abrasirt?
I mean, it was their only choice. They never win on 17, so they know that, so they want to go for an undercut.
Well, Lucy, she's got 2 Thanatoses out. She's about to get another one pretty soon, but one dies. Oh, yeah, Drakir just holds, though! Drakir just holds! This game is over!
Because now the undercut does not work. There's still the possibility of a resend, but Drashir and Lucy just recognize that and just don't push and hold the resend.
I mean, yeah, even Widdowson, who's the holder for Team Abrasirt, his value is also incredibly low.
I mean, they just die here to no sen.
Yeah, they do. Okay. Well, turns out that Drakir and Lucy were saving for next game, but in the end, the suicide play, and I love that aggressive play from Ebrasiert, but it didn't quite work out for them, unfortunately. And that does mean that the underdogs have taken this first game in the best of 5 series. Well played, you guys.
Yeah, but I must say it's a very good recognition from Drescher and Lucy to say the only play that Returning Kingdoms have to win this game is to full push onto Lucy. So not pushing, recognizing that 17 is a sure win. Just low push. Drescher has the boars, Lucy has the build for 16. Just have faith that if they don't push, they die on 17 anyhow. So I think that's a good recognition.
Yeah, really solid play. What a game, by the way, Shadow. Like, this was really close, really back and forth during the early game. And then, sure, like, the guys, they took a bit of a lead going into the mid game, especially with the, what was it, with Drakir fully holding that massive wave 14 send. And just shaving so much HP off of Kingdans and Widdowson all the way down to 6%. And that led to drastic measures from Abrasier with a full suicide push on Kingdans, even selling his units to try and kill Lucy on 16, which he did manage to leak her, but with Drakir holding the send from Widdowson, it just wasn't enough.
I mean, the early game was pretty silent. It's really in the mid game that it really began to appear some problems, and I really think that that 13 skip. The only reason they skipped 13 is because Punch Up Chaos was in the game.
Yeah, so they wanted to like force Kingdans to sell his Trinity Archer or something like that, and then they would go for the wave 14 send, right?
Yeah, and so even though Kingdans didn't go for the punch up, Widdowson still built for 13, which played against Widdowson Kingdans because Widdowson was overbuilding to try and counteract a possible embargo, and it just didn't happen. He just built for his weak wave still.
Man, what a clutch game, Shadow. I'm really excited to see what happens in game number 2 now.
I'm gonna tell you, Widdowson's not gonna pick Castle.
I can tell you as well that neither will Lucy.
That's true, but maybe Drescher will.
Maybe Drakir will. All right, so
It has been seen.
Remember, Twitch chat, in the Conquest format, players cannot pick a Mastermind option again after they have won with it. So Drakir was on... Read that game, Shadow? Remind me?
I believe he was.
And Lucy was on the castle, so they cannot repick those Mastermind options, while Kingdans and Widdowson, who have, well, clearly not won a game yet, so they still have the entire pool of Mastermind options available to them.
I can confirm Drescher was greed.
Drakir was great. Okay, cool. Right. I mean, what do Widdowson and Kingdans need to do to bring this one back now? Probably feeling a little bit shook after losing the first game. You never want to give away an advantage so early on in a best of 5 series. But, you know, these guys, very good at playing well under pressure.
I think they need to return to their style that was used on the previous series. We didn't see that big of a save here on either side. Everybody going for a bit more income. And not a lot of synchronous sends also in the early game.
Yep.
So I think Widdowson and Kingdans need to focus a bit more and try to find those common weak waves.
Anyway, we're about to find out, guys, because game number 2 is coming right up. Let's go!
And we do have as Legion Spells Titan, Giant Snail, that's Drescher's favorite, and Magician.
So with Titan, oh, Lucy is such a skilled player. She cartel rolled Priestess Mask with Titan in the game. Holy moly, I wish I was as good as Lucy at this game.
Yeah, but also good contrast here. Lucy played the castle and now going to play the cartel, so very distinct style here.
Yeah,
between the two.
polar opposites.
And there is the gun though on both Drescher and Lucy, and in the past they have been recognized by gun playing a lot of guns in their early season.
Shadow, Shadow, my friend, I can tell you right now, there is absolutely 0% chance that Lucy is playing the Gatling gun here instead of the Potomask. It's not going to happen.
I know, but I'm just recollecting history here and just saying they're recognized by their gun plays.
And Drakir not going for the gun either. He's going for a Graal start. Actually, Is that going to be Grawl into Bunk on 3?
It
I don't
will
love
be.
it.
It will be. It will be because he has APS Sea Dragon with it, which enables 11 and 12 to be covered and allowing a really strong push to get that possible resend on 11. So maybe playing around that already.
Yep. Now, one thing I will say about Lucy's role is it's not quite as perfect as the one that Julian had earlier on the show. She does have the Priestess Mask, but she doesn't have something like a
Distinct.
Grawl or a good answer for Wave 10 or anything like that. So she does have weaknesses in the role, but her early game, like her first 7 or 8 waves, are going to be really, really easy. Expect Lucy to push very, very hard this game.
There is a little bit of a contrast. There's 2 roles within that role. There's the Priestess Mask, yes, but very few tanks for the Gate Antler also. So I wonder if she's gonna favor a little bit more towards the Priestess or towards the Gate later on.
Yeah, and the White Main Gates are certainly incredible top end in this role. The one thing I would say is that they don't play that well with each other, right? Because with Priestess Mask, you want to have a long split down here with your masks just kiting the wave forever. But if you do that and then you have a White Main Gate circle, you're going to get your gates killed.
Yeah, that's exactly my point. I'm really curious on what she's gonna favor, because if she favors the Gate, we can have something called a little Zamba, right?
Yeah.
And have the Gate still tank. It does split the wave, but for that you need to have strong DPS, and so maybe she focuses more towards the mask early and only have the Gate starting at wave 9.
Yep. Now we do see all of the players taking their income here, apart from King Dans, who's going to go for a try-hard send against Lucy on wave 4, but he's going to be really disappointed when he sees this unit here because it just makes his wave 4 play so much more difficult.
Yeah, so there's 2 possibilities here for King Dans. Either he skips or he go for income. I do presume he will go for the income, but with Cartel it is something you can do to long save, possibly aim for the Mimic.
Yep.
On wave 6 is a possibility, especially with the Bunk on the board.
Alright, so with the double snail, it looks like Widdowson is doing just fine, although he's cutting it pretty close, honestly, and only receiving 1 snail means that King Dans will be fine as well. I'm curious why Drakir, I think he could have sent another 40 here.
Yeah, but I think he wants to protect the possibility of King Dans going long here, and King Dans is going to go for the Dino here, and it might just be to force King Dans to not go long also, like just go say I didn't send you full, I might send you on 4, just prepare that, and he just gets his income to get the Pilgrim.
Yep, and Lucy is adding a nice little kite here with the double Mask Spirit edition, and of course the Force Maiden on the left. So let's see.
This is just an easy hold, so.
Yeah, it will be an easy hold.
I like the fact that King Dans did not go for the King up here, saving the Methium for extra pressure. You need that against Priestess Mask. You need to make them position themselves a bit more.
This is one of those roles where if you give it an inch, it will take a mile, and Lucy can just... But she's going to push hard anyway off of this Dino Send for sure.
Yeah, but with more Methium, you have more chance to punish it. That's the point here.
Yeah, of course. And meanwhile, the 80 send here against King Dans on wave 4. Now I understand why Drakir didn't send that 40 left over on wave 3, because he's actually getting a decent leak here. 42% against King Dans on wave 4.
Yeah, those resends are very important, especially at eye level, because it makes the enemy question. Like, you ask the question, do you have the answer for this wave? Are you sure I full send? And asking those questions really adds a layer, and that's what it's all about here at the highest level of play. Ask those questions.
Oh, look, this, by the way, Widdowson is sending a Hermit against Drakir's Bunk on wave 5, but Drakir has the perfect answer here with the Sea Dragon. So not only does this do fantastic damage against the Scorpion on 5, but it's also going to provide so much extra HP for the Banana Bunk that I think, even though this is a big send coming out from Widdowson, Drakir should be just fine here.
Yeah, so typically Drakir should be careful for a resend, also on 6. But he can just get a Maiden in the split and should do quite fine still. Will be interesting to see what is his choice.
That Scorpion is already down. This does look like an easy hold from Drakir, so very well played there. Lucy actually leaking the resend, though she does have 10 workers, so I don't think she's too disappointed with that.
Yeah, that's the type of leak you're kind of fine with. It does hinder the economy of the Priestess player a little bit, because she loses a bit of the gold.
Yep.
But I think she's gonna take it nonetheless.
Oh, she's absolutely fine with this. It's a pretty small leak. It's 3 creeps and a fiend. Drakir, he won't be able to cover any of it, but the king damage is very minor. And meanwhile, Lucy, she just has a ton of Mythium, 120 already saved. And she does go for a Drake here on 6, so let's see how Widdowson handles that one. In fact, Kingdans is going for a full resend here with a Brute. Lucy, she is going to get the Hellraiser, of course, so she should be fine, but she can't afford to raise the split, so that Brute, will it go straight onto... Okay, she actually sells the mask so that she can raise the split, so now the Brute's going to go away from the Priestess, and this should be just a fine hold for her here.
It is a correct play. Widdowson is a little bit in a pickle in terms of gold situation. He's gonna need to go for 2 infiltrators. No, okay, he's upping the split and building consort.
I mean, Widdowson's +5 on value here. Like, the Drake is good, and the DT is going to take a while for this infiltrator to kill. Let's see, does this archer go down?
Yes.
It does. Okay, now Widdowson might end up being in a bit of trouble because of that. A bit of a positioning there, letting his archer take too much aggro. Lucy does leak 80% to the Brute resend, though. And Drakir, I don't think he's holding either shadow. This is going to be some decent king damage.
Yeah, he just added the APS here, did not add the split tank, so this means that everything was on the bunk.
Yeah.
It is king damage, but I must say that
even
Widdowson's
the
leak
Hermit.
is worse than it appears here. He was stuck at 6 workers because of the pack rat.
Yeah,
for a long
700
time.
value. But man, I mean, I said that the leak on wave 5 for Lucy was absolutely fine, and it was. But this leak to the resend is really not, because now that king is looking pretty unhappy with himself, down at 67% HP, while King and Widdowson are still nearly full.
Yeah, King and Vidor are currently looking at wave 10 here. That's the best choice against the Priestess. Hit her before she hits the power spike in the mid game.
Yep.
Also, it can be good for Drashir still. Sea Dragon Bunk can do pretty well on wave 10. But with this long of a save, it can still hurt him. What's going for him is that Widdowson is low worker, and he's banking on those treasure hunts though.
Talking about the power spike, look at Kingdan's workers. 13 workers. He's actually comfortably ahead of the Priestess Mask player, which is kind of crazy actually.
Yeah, he's banking on the fact that Drashir and Lucy will not send on wave 8, because they want to protect their wave 10, so I think he recognized that they want to go 10. But no, King Dance wants to go 8.
There's a Mimic send from Kingdans, and this is, again, a one-sided send. Lucy does
it's a
add
one-sided send, but a very well-placed one.
So she's clearly not expecting the wave 8 send, although that said, if the Antler ends up tanking the Mimic, this could go pretty well for Lucy.
The issue is that wave 8 is pretty good against the Antler, and Nekomata is tanking the Mimic before it.
Yeah, that's true. So let's see, how quickly can this mask just decimate the Cobras?
I don't think it's fast enough. I think that's the answer.
The melee units are going straight for the Mimic, though. They are going to snipe it, I think. And the Priestess Mask is clearing up on this left-hand side, so everything here goes down. But the Mimic is still alive. All of the melee creeps are dead. And, okay, he gets a couple of more kills over the back of the Mimic.
It's not atrocious.
But doesn't kill it, and that's 12 gold on the Mimic, so Kingdans will take that. I think it's a decent leak. It's a decent bit of gold on the Mimic.
It's not atrocious. The problem is that if Lucy had an answer for 10, then she's in a good position.
Yep.
But now she doesn't have an answer for 10, so we're gonna see what she decides to do. Not very confident on what the option is gonna be.
Talking about wave 10, Kingdans doesn't look amazing there himself, and doesn't really have options in his role either, other than Lioness and Alpha Male, but the rest of his stuff is pretty weak on 10. Widdowson, of course, is a god there, with APS, with Trinity Archer, with Consorts.
Drasher is not shifting for the fertilizer. I think he will be needing to sell the maiden to get it. And I think he won't have a choice to do so because Lucy is so weak on wave 10. Oh, wait, I say that, but she rerolled, and look what she got.
Oh, Lucy, very nice there with the Halo and the Aqua as well, because she's got a lot of spell damage in her roll.
Yeah, so that's very good. So that means that Drasher is not forced into selling for the fertilizer. I would still think he does it, selling the maiden for it. It's a pretty decent option.
He does, yeah.
And he does it.
That's respectable. I can definitely see why he did that. He's only receiving an income send from Widdowson, but of course he can't know that.
He can't know that, but it's the safer option.
Yep.
He knows Lucy is not the strongest here, and he knows that he has a strong 11 and 12 with the Life Matter bunk. It's the safer option. It's a good way to get back into the game if your send is successful as well. So I think you're going to be pretty happy with that decision.
Now, Widdowson's obviously going to hold here. He's on value with Trinity Archer and APS. Kingdans, though, he's receiving a big send. He did reroll into the Nightmare here, so he has got some good damage for the wave, but the Ghost Knight is just doing its job so well there. It's surviving, it's not going down, it's tanking all of the impact damage. This is really good. Okay, it does finally die, but, I mean, it certainly did its job. Kingdan's leaking here on wave 10, despite having 1500 value. Lucy leaks as well, of course, to be expected from the Priestess Mass player, but King leaking here, and that is a shutdown as well.
Kind of surprising it's a shutdown. I mean, Widdowson did control Drasher pretty well in the early game. But now the cartel's gonna kick in, and it's all about whose worker is better, but also whose king is better.
Yep.
So right now the income is in favor for Widdowson and Drakir, and that's despite Widdowson being a very low worker throughout the early game. Showing the power of the rat still in the early game, but now you need to transition into workers. Still pretty low still. So play for Drasher and Lucy, Force 13. If you want to come back, Force 13 seems to be the better play here. Yes, it's a gate, but it does protect the 14 of Lucy. So forcing it means pushing aggressively. They've done that somewhat. Lucy especially, 200 under.
Does she want to go into that white main circle? She's starting to build her melee units around the Antler, so she has left a couple of spots there for the gates at the front, and of course taking the Titan on the Priestess is a very solid choice here.
So Widdowson 12 workers. I do expect them to skip 13. They want to go for a finish later on. 14 is a probably targeted wave, and they expect the 13 sand as an answer for Drasher and Lucy. That's the expectation. Let's see if they're right.
Kingdan's looking very solid there with his value, with his Magician on the gate and the Harbinger, and this Warg enjoying a little bit of mana regeneration there as well. Widdowson going for a full
everyone has the right
shift
to their
here.
dreams, right?
Yeah, so Widdowson, he's shifting his 300 gold here. He's obviously very strong on this wave. He's keeping a spot open for his Phoenix right there on the APS.
Yeah, I mean, he's hiding the Titan.
Oh, he actually adds it, so he feels scared here.
No, it's PTSD of yesterday.
Yeah. They don't want to just
PTSD
lose to a
yesterday.
random wave 12 send. He even used the Titan straight away as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's the safer option. He's ahead, so
Why
I
risk
think
it?
it's safer. Yeah, why risk it? I mean, but showing it does mean that Drasher and Lucy might look to that 14 as well.
Drakir sending a lizard. He just needed a little bit of gold to make sure he could get his Doomsday here. But the send isn't coming from Widdowson and Kingdans either.
Yeah, I mean that's the right play for Kingdans and Widdowson. They have answers for 13.
Yep.
They see the weak wave of Lucy being 14, and they want to target it a little bit. But with the Doomsday, might that change? Maybe. Maybe they will aim 15 because this area is not invincible there on 15. We're gonna see what are the expectations for each team. If Drasher and Lucy expect a 14 send, they will go for Income King or a full send. I would expect Lucy go for Income King while Drasher tries to break. So let's see what are the reactions here.
The value is looking a lot more stable on the side of Widdowson and Kingdowns. They have a decent value lead over their opponents, and Kingdowns is also ahead in workers. He's just having a really good game here.
So they are trying for the break here on
Okay.
14. Widdowson and Kingdoms are saving here. They want to go for the end on 15, it looks like. It does open up 16 as well, but the mask could be prepared on 15.
Maybe a bit of an undercut potential here. Widdowson and Kingdowns, although he reads it, he hardens his golem, and Lucy's centaur is going to be very sad here, just wailing away against a hardened golem. It's not going to do what she wants it to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of surprised she tries for the break here instead of Income King. King Dance and Widdowson respect the send here and go for some King spell.
Okay. I can see it. And they do have full King HP, so they definitely can't die here no matter what happens. The best that Lucy and Drakir can hope for is to claim this shutdown from Kingdowns and get a ton of gold from pillage damage against the king. They won't win the game here.
No, the goal is not to win here, it's to try and get some gold back.
There's Needlers doing work, it's getting all the kills. In fact, it got double stacked there for a moment.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of good. It's a bit of
But Kingdowns is just clearing up the entire wave. He's even
does he
hold,
have enough
right?
to kill the Needler? Yes, he has, and
Wow.
it's going to be a leak on Widdowson instead. Interesting.
Widdowson leaks the Centaur and the Hermit only, and Kingdowns holds. Not just holds, but comfortably.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. I didn't expect the role of.
With that
did not
value,
expect the
he's
role
done
to be that
so
strong.
well.
Maybe the Needler wasn't the send.
Wow, okay, interesting. I mean, that looked like it was perfect Needler action, right? It got so many last hits on all of the little slimes. It got double speed boost for a very short time there. I mean, if that wasn't the ideal Needler scenario, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, it's kind of surprising. He was looking the weakest here on 14, and he still held.
I'm really impressed actually that Kingdowns was able to hold there.
But now they just decide to save a bit longer. Drasher and Lucy perfectly recognize they don't go on 15 though to prepare some masks. But I fear it won't be enough to hold it here.
Yeah, both of them having Tantrum masks is nice, but they're going to be so far undervalue, Shadow. I'm really scared for these guys here.
Yeah, and we do see, however, Widdowson pretty low on value, gonna leak here to the
Widdowson is going to pro leak here. He is on shutdown. It's only 25 gold though, so it's not the end of the world. I think he's completely fine to leak there. 25 gold does not outweigh the extra time they're getting from this leak here.
I mean, Income King is the correct play here for Lucy and Drasher. Try and survive. They know their values are pretty low now on Widdowson and King Dance, so if they survive somehow, don't ask me why. If they survive, they might still have a window to come back here.
It's a big if though, right, Shadow? And they're so far undervalued. The sends are absolutely enormous. We see the double Needler coming out from King, just going to shred through Lucy's Swift Arcane units. They will have a fully upgraded King, of course, but it's not full HP, so Tenacity maybe not able to save them here.
It might not be enough, but the wave is gonna be pretty low to the mask here. So one spell on the king could be enough to get through.
And the Master doing a ton of work. She's got a very nice kite there on Lucy's lane. The Azaria is staying alive for a very long time, actually.
I mean, that's one of the conditions. Azaria doing Azaria things.
But
But it's
all of her
dying now.
masks are dead now. That's 154% for Lucy, 117% for Drakir.
Drashir's lane is pretty low though. Let's see, they do have full spell, but I don't think they have enough. I think it's gonna be game here.
Yeah, it's too much damage. Oh wait, is it? Is it? They survive!
Oh!
Shadow, they got 3% HP!
Wait, okay, so now what's the value situation at? Wait. Medicine's gonna be overbuilt? It's gonna be on value. Okay. 18?
Oh.
Anyone?
But Widdowson's starting to use the Flying Archer, the Flying Phoenix. This thing's going to do some serious damage. Look at this. It has the Leviathan buff. It has the NPS buff. Like, his value's not crazy, but his build just has insane synergy.
Okay, let's wait. Okay, we do have a lot of magic damage, yes, on King Dance, but does the split work here? There won't be enough Mythium for 18 for Drashir and Lucy. They barely push. They're still under because of the push of King Dan's and Bitter. If they skip 18, it's very risky. Maybe they're banking on the fact that Vidor and King Dan's just starve too long and don't have enough value.
Oh, apologies, it looks like the scoreboard says 1-1. Fix that. And here does come the send from Widdowson and Kingdan. So Lucy and Drakir now, their only hope is to survive this send, which means Lucy definitely needs a split adjustment here, because if that Azeria goes down, then her hopes are over. Drakir, though, he has got 3 Fatalizers with an APS buff, so he can do pretty well this wave.
He also buys a lot of time in the split here with the mask.
Yep. And Lucy is insanely far undervalued. She's minus 860. Drakir is minus 610. I mean, I admire the effort here, but I think they're just going to be overwhelmed.
You know Drashir is stressed a little bit. He's telling Lucy where to place the Varshroom, so stress is here.
And her Azaria tanks 3. It's going to die. It goes down. Azaria is dead, and I think Lucy's going to end up leaking pretty big. Let's have a look at Drakir's lane. He is getting his Doomsday to tank. His Fatalizers are alive. He's going to hold, but Lucy is going to leak really big. That Azaria needed to stay alive.
Yeah, Drashir holding is big, but Lucy's leak is bigger.
I just don't know that it's enough. Remember, they have 5% King HP. They can't take any damage here.
Artifact is enough. There's still 1 full HP, but the damage
they go
not
down
there.
Too quick. Lucy, with that Azaria dying here against wave 18, it's just too much for Drakir to cover. And GG, Team Abrasiat even the score, 1-1.
Wow. Okay. Well, we have more than 3 games, right?
Yeah, we have more than 3 games. Yeah. Ah, Lucy, no. I don't know, like, where does she need to place her mask? Maybe directly in front of the other one, just to make sure that the Priestess only tanks 1 or 2 units?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very stressful situation. Like, it needs to be very precise. The thing that saved the Azaria is not the mask, is the Varshroom position.
Yep.
Drashir was pinging like crazy to tell Lucy where to place it. Turns out it's half a square higher would have been fine, because then it would have been 1 on the Azaria and 2 on the rest. It's a question of millimeter with Azaria. Just have the proof here.
Yeah, and I got a feel for them, because that was a really ballsy play that they just made to skip on wave 18, and it nearly worked. Like, if that Azaria tanks 1 or 2 less creeps, then Lucy just holds way better. Maybe she can even hold, actually, if that Azaria stays alive. The magic damage is insane on wave 18, but it wasn't to be, and that does mean that Team Abrasiat are now back swinging in this tournament. 1-1 is the scoreline.
We must say that King Dan's early game was insane.
Oh yeah, he outpushed Priestess Mask. Like, not many people can do that. Not many builds can do that. But he is 9 workers after a wave 4 send. He's leaking the Poter on wave 5. He's leaking it again really badly on wave 6, while holding a brute send himself there. And yeah, King Dan's, he just had an insane early game. He's 13 workers on wave 7, while the Priestess Mask player is only on 10.
But also, wave 8. Wave 8 was crucial for King Dan's also to get Lucy there.
Yeah, he got his guy, and he got 12 gold on that Mimic as well. I mean,
got his guy.
He got his, and this is just a dream game from King Dan's, playing absolutely out of his mind, which he needed to do, right? They were 1 game behind.
Yeah, I mean that ties up the series. I mean, Drashir Lucy might be a little bit more stressed here. I felt the nerves of Drashir hitting here at 18. So let's see if he can calm down and recover here.
Yeah. Man, that's just absolutely insane. What a series. So, Shadow, have you got any favourites as we move into game number 3?
I mean, now Vidor cannot take the green. It was his safety net.
Yep.
King Dan's cannot take the cartel.
Yep.
That was his aggressive option. Vidur on Cartel, I'm not too convinced about it. Going on to next game, if there's an aggressive spells, I favor Drishir and Lucy. I think they need to play the control style. They need to control King Dance, and I think Drashir is one of the players that can do it. He just needs to send a little bit less, be more controlled, and I
Yep.
think that's going to be working in their favor.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's see if Drakir and Lucy are feeling flustered now after that loss. Lucy has to be kicking herself, like getting that Azaria killed so quickly on the crucial wave 18. I mean, it happens to the best of us, right? But it can't feel good when you're in the Nova Cup finals to have that happen to you. So hopefully they can keep their cool, get this back under control, and, you know, they could still win this one, Shadow. It's only 1-1.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, it's just how well can they reset the mental? Because after 16, I can see the adrenaline being very high and the stress being very high. Also, we have a chance, but we need to make a risky shot on 18. But the position needs to be precise. So it's just a question of recovering here. I know I wouldn't be able to, but let's see if these guys are better than me here.
I think it goes without saying that they're better than me, and that's why I'm casting and not playing. But guys, here it is, game number 3. The score is even at 1-1. Abrasir versus the underdogs. Let's go.
Alright, so redraw from Vidderson, going back to that safety, but that's because there's Divine Blessing in this game. We had 2 Divine Blessing games, right? This final?
Yeah, we did. And King Dance is picking the Chaos here.
So they're accomplishing the same idea here from Vidderson. They want to search and answer for Divine Blessing. It's just 2 different way to do it. There's one with the safety, Vidderson with his signature looter placement also.
Yep.
It's just a matter of searching at the right time. And Vidderson's gonna have a LOD Tempest. Ooh, maybe shying away from the Divine
And the
Blessing.
Archer as well. Flying Archer, pretty insane.
I mean, after 2 rerolls, I think this roll is pretty good, even if he doesn't have Divine Blessing. Let's see if he's gonna use it anyhow. Like, the attack speed can still be useful on the LOD. I don't think it's still that valuable compared to money, so maybe tax allowance is a little bit better in this situation.
All right,
King
Lucy
Dance
has the Casket Angler, which is a very solid opener in its own right. She also has that Gate Guard, which means you can nicely cover the weak wave on 6 there.
I mean, not only the Gate Guard, but the Atom. The
Yeah.
Atom's going to be pretty stable early with Tank Line, and the Casket can provide it.
Oh, and look at this. So King Dance, he goes for the 5-worker Windhawk opener, and he actually gets quite lucky there because he's playing Chaos, remember. So if his Chaos roll didn't have a playable tier 3, he could have been in trouble on wave 2. Like, we see he gets the Steed here, which is fine, but if that had been like a Gate Guard or something that he wouldn't have been able to afford to build, he could have been in a bit of a sticky situation.
Yeah, so now his answer is probably 2 Anglers. That would be the best situation for him. Maybe a Seedling, but I don't think it's useful, so I think he's gonna stick to 2 Anglers. A Crow Pixie? I don't like the Crow Pixie.
He does change his mind. He's going back for the Anglers, it seems. And meanwhile, Drakir is adding a Ranger to his Honeyflower, which is solid. Lucy staying 4 workers, really feeling the pressure there from King Dance not sending on wave 1.
Intriguing positioning by King Dance, I must say.
Okay, so yeah, his Anglers are going to get absolutely run down here, right? Well, they do split tank
like,
perfectly.
What?
King
What is
Dance.
this positioning?
He's just giving us a masterclass in positioning, it looks like. Even this one's going to survive. It's going to kill the whales before it dies. Or no, okay. Not quite perfect.
Don't be
Come
too
on, King
ambitious.
Dance. Do better next time. But yeah, Lucy was able to hold the send there, and now Drakir and King Dance both on 6 workers apiece, while Widderson is lagging behind there with only 4.
I mean, it's the price you need to pay when playing Pack Rats.
Of course. Lucy, she's only going to send the 1 snail, so Widderson will definitely be able to get away with another treasure hunt here, which he does.
Just a Mythium update here. With the treasure hunt, he's still equal to King Dance, so looks
Yeah.
pretty good overall, equal
No.
to Drashir as well. It is Lucy behind in Mythium Generation.
Yeah, but look, Disco Shadow, there was a double snail resend from Drakir. Kingdan's on 220 value. By all rights, should be in a bit of danger here. He did, of course, get that Green Devil out, like the Gargoyle, sorry, which gives him a bit of a fighting chance, but it's still a 57% leak against income here. Meanwhile, Drakir, of course, the Flower player, was able to get away with 235 value on wave 3 and not leak to a 60 from Kingdan's, from Widdowson.
Also, important to note, the Flower player did receive a 60 here. Can be in danger to a DT resend. It would come after income from Vedder, but he's gonna prepare for 5 here, not going to let anything to randomness here. And that's pretty good for Drashir.
A good call, I think. And Widdowson, it looks like, is not going for that post-income DT regardless. Kingdans is sending a Fiend here, but Lucid, of course, upgrading that 75 stack. Angler is going to be more than fine here. And in fact, enjoy the release of pressure that that Fiend represents.
Yeah, stable early game is what Lucid Drashir wants. But I want to see them maybe save a bit of Mythium and aim for Weak Wave. Weak Wave is pretty hard to find against Widdowson. I mean, resend on 5 could catch him if he shifts for the Harbinger.
Yeah.
And I mean, same goes for Kingdans. Hermit, if he goes for the Violet, can be problematic.
Lucy and Drakir both have a little bit of Mythium stored up, and there's that Hermit coming out from Drakir. Kingdans, he cannot afford a Violet here, at least not without selling, but he just goes for the Bounty Hunter instead. And of course, the Seraphim here just deals infinite magic damage against the Scorpion on fire, so I think Kingdans will do pretty fine. And the Hermit, it turns out, is not going to do very much because the only AoE that Kingdans has on the board is this one little seedling.
I mean, and you say it won't do pretty well, but I think it's a very good send from Drashir because the best option for Kingdans was to go for that Violet upgrade.
Yeah, of course.
And so anything other than that is a worse option that's not really worth a different send.
And the Hermit is doing solid magic damage as well against the natural and fortified units that Kingdans has on the board. But I mean, he's doing completely fine. And again, look at this split tanking from his build. I need to take notes, guys. Screenshot this build from Kingdans here. The aggro is insane. Meanwhile, Waldo over in lane 1 does leak 31% against the Brute and the Snails. And this Hermit will sneak through in Kingdans' lane as well. So, first blood, this time goes the side of the underdogs.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a very good spot on the side of Drashir and Lucy to go for wave 5, preventing Vidder to safely shift for the Harbinger. He did shift, but utilizing the Pack Rat instead. But now he's not getting the Harbinger and he cannot add too much, so the resend is a bit dangerous again.
Yeah, his value's looking pretty low. In fact, Kingdans is going for a second Bounty Hunter here. He might be a little bit sad when he sees this Brute and Snail wander into his lane on 6. Surely he's going to make the Devilfish. He's not?
I don't
He
think
wants
so.
the
He
DPS?
needs the damage.
Yeah.
He needs the damage.
Alright, now the double Snail for Widdowson just looks like a bit of a snack. He will be completely fine, so let's focus on Kingdans' lane. But again, the focus is absolutely insane here. King really putting on a positioning masterclass, it seems, in game number 3.
I mean, that's what you need. That's what you need when you play aggressively. And just to say, in the mid game, if those are Kingpin, more HP on them, it can be the difference maker as well.
Yeah. So despite Kingdans, like, we were a little bit scared for him here, but he clearly wasn't scared, and we see why here. He's doing insanely well, only leaking a low HP Brute against the full tryhard send from Drakir. And now the pressure is really in favour of Team Abrasiert because they got this resend here on 6. It didn't do any damage to their king, and they had 150 saved up.
Kingdans deciding to send income here, recognizing that Lucy might get the Kingpin on 8, trying to catch her greeting instead. I think that's a nice decision, bro.
Yeah, but Lucy, she's on very high value. She does have the casket. It's only income from Kingdans as well. I think Lucy will be fine. I'm interested in how these Brute resends from Drakir and Lucy work out, though. Widdowson, I'm pretty sure, is going to be totally fine. He doesn't even hunt his Pack Rat. And Kingdans, Chaos rolling into this Elite Archer, he's going to be totally fine as well.
I mean, He's still minus 120. He does not have the Harbinger.
But now his
and it's
focus
not
is
too-
ruined. So now that he's added this range unit, his magical focus, which did so well on the first 6 waves, is gone all of a sudden. His units are lining up one by one to die to the brute, and he will actually be able to leak here, I think. It won't be huge, though.
Lucy's holding, by the way.
Yeah, Lucy does hold. It's only income plus a king up, actually, from King Dan, so not too surprising that she holds there. Widdowson, of course,
that's very
holding
good.
as well.
It is very good for her because now only Drashir has the pressure on him. So the downside is that she needs to stay low worker, but she can stay low
Oh.
worker and get the Kingpin.
But look this, Shadow. Ghost Knight on 8, name a more iconic duo, and how is Drakir going to answer this? Well, the answer is a Banana Bunk, which is pretty solid, but even though he's over 1,000 value, this send from Widdowson is absolutely huge, and the Ghost Knight is just insane against all of these units. His one saving grace is this Daphne, I suppose, but one Daphne on its own, the Ghost Knight is still going to live forever.
Yeah, so Drashir decided not to sell to adjust the split. That's the correct decision because Lucy is gonna cover anyhow, so he doesn't want to lose gold for that reason. Now, will it have hold
Oh.
better with the split?
The Daphne's actually ignoring the Ghost Knight and sniping units in the wave. I don't know if that's good or bad for Drakir, because what it definitely does is it means he won't be able to kill this Ghost Knight in time.
Yeah, so maybe a larger league than he would have
Oh.
wanted.
That hurts. 120% from Drakir, that really hurts. He did snipe a few of those Cobras in the back line because of the reflect from his bunk, coupled with the range from his Daphne, but not killing that Ghost Knight, leaving it on 10% HP, it really hurts.
Yeah, it really hurts. Maybe selling would have been worth it here. Selling 2 Peewees, raise the split, make the Ghost Knight go in the split, even boost it maybe.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's a hard decision to make because if it's not a Ghost Knight, then maybe you ignore the pack leader possibly, and then you're in a worse position.
Yeah. But look at this now. So King Down's 15 workers on his Chaos build, and he hasn't even realized that Kingpin power spike yet. So when he does, King Down's is just going to rocket to the top of the power score charts.
Yeah, right now it's all about what Lucy and Drashir does to. I mean, I say come back. Jules says that they are in a slight lead because of Lucy position in the game. And they do have a little bit of pressure onto the other.
Yeah, but I think that's only because Lucy had her Kingpin power spike already. I think that win percent chance is going to change as soon as King Dans presses the button on his.
So I think the idea right now for Drashir and Lucy is 11. However, Ridderson has the LOD. So if he is confident enough to hide it here, he can be in a good position. The thing I'm gonna say though, he's lacking the front line. So even if he gets the LOD in the next wave, he might still be susceptible to a leak.
And Lucy and Drakir are threatening like siege ramp sends on wave 11 as well. Even though the LOD is insane, siege ramp's pretty good against it.
Siege Run's pretty good, especially when you don't have a front line. Look at how much DPS Ridderson had.
The triple Daphne here from Drakir looks like is able to hold the income send from Widdowson, and Lucy, of course, with her double Kingpin is holding as well, but they just go for an income send.
That's surprising.
Yeah. Do you know why? Lucy was just short of that siege ram. I guess anything else just wouldn't really have cut it against Widdowson.
I would disagree with that. Rich plus Pam would have been pretty good because they don't know about the LOD, but it's not even LOD, that's Widdowson's building.
Yeah, he's going for a priestess, and this priestess is going to die really quick, right?
Whoa,
He puts the blessing on
Wither.
it. That is risky, Widdowson. That is risky.
I'm not confident this is surviving.
No. But maybe he's just happy to spend the blessing here to try and hold what he knows is a pretty big send.
Might just be that, but...
But Lucy's even saving 100 Mythium.
Oh my god, this is not tanking.
He's not tanking. He's really safe with his high split. But it is dealing a ton of damage. Remember, the Blessing does give 18% attack speed as well, so the magic damage doing real wonders here. And again,
Yeah.
only an income
He's holding.
send.
He's holding.
And
King is
now,
holding as well.
Lucy and Drakir must be kicking themselves for not going for a full send here, because they would have shaved those Blessings away.
I mean, only on Witherspoon. King Dance did not show his yet.
Yeah, understandable. He wants to save that for wave 13 maybe, or... He's going for an egg here, King? Isn't that pretty greedy?
I mean, I'm gonna say Witherspoon did not push a single worker.
He did not. But he's hiding his pack rats, so remember he has that hidden value.
But where do you go? Where do you go against Witherspoon?
I mean, I would imagine it's wave 13 when they see this egg from King Downs, but it's just such a hard call.
It is a very hard call, but Lucy did push heavily. She's at 22 workers.
And remember, she didn't full send on 11. She still had more than 100 Mythium left over. And yeah,
There's
here
an
it
egg.
comes, the 13 send. So let's see. King Downs and Widdowson, will you send here as well? If so, will it be full or income? Look,
I think the plan for Witherspoon King Dance is to skip the wave. I think that's what they wanted to do, and they forced the send here. But is it too risky for them? Do they pay the
they
price?
do skip. They do skip. Alright, this Blessing Azeria is going to have to do some serious work here in Widdowson's lane.
I mean, he...
What?
Oh no!
Witherspoon?
No!
Widdowson? No!
It's the same thing that happened yesterday. Does
Yeah.
not expect the send here, but he's full pierce damage. He doesn't have a front line, and there's an egg on his ally.
There's an egg on his ally, so King Dan's like his value is really strong, but a lot of that value is tucked away in these Kingpins, which are really bad on wave 13.
And King yet to use his divine blessing.
Yeah, we've got a question mark ping these rats, I'm afraid, Widdowson. Now, the Blessing is doing extremely well, of course. The Azeria does stay alive, but now the
There's
Four
another
Eyes is on
front
top
line.
of her. She's going to go down. There she gets another heal off, actually. But yeah, Widdowson leaking, but not badly, honestly. He's going to kill... No, not quite kill them all.
I mean, you said not a bad league, but this is the door to the comeback of Lucy and Drashir.
This
They get
golem
a lot
dies
of
to the
gold
egg
here.
splash. So King Dan's sniping one last drill golem here with his egg.
It's still unnecessary risk from Witherspoon. Again,
Yeah, I
treasure
think so.
hunting.
I think if he didn't treasure hunt there, he would have just held, right? For sure.
Yeah, it's just a question of time. You need tanks, and if you don't have enough tanks, you don't have enough time.
Yeah.
But they do have one thing. It's the Mythium. But
They do have a big
Lucy and
Mythium
Drashir?
lead. Yeah.
What do Lucy and Drashir have?
They have tenacity.
Yeah, exactly. And they have also Divine Blessing Phoenix covering 15 and 16.
Yep.
Ocean Templar Kingpin, very strong as a tank to give time to the Disciple Circle possibly, or
Yeah.
even an LOD, why not, right?
When do they even want to send then on the side of Widdowson and King Dance? Because they have
I mean-
insane Mythium in the bank, but they can't save forever when their king is on 47% HP. Widdowson, it
If
looks
they-
like is full pushed.
If they aim for a one shot, they aim 17. However, the value of Witherspoon is very low, as you pointed out, so they might be forced to just send here. But 21 workers, Witherspoon, low value. Even themselves to a send on 15, I'm not confident. So they're going for the 15 send. That's a strong wave of Drashir and Lucy, and they're skipping. They know they are strong here.
And they're certainly right. I'd be interested to see if they do the king attack upgrades. They only need 5 each.
Ooh. And
I like this
some people
Pee-wee
would-
here from Drakir just to
Yep.
make sure he's playing against double Four Eyes. He wants to keep the Four Eyes off his Phoenix. He isn't receiving that though. He's actually getting Kraken Seatram.
But I really like this because he plays around the most powerful send against what he showed,
Yep.
which is double 4-eye.
And
So
here come
he
the king
knows there's
attacks.
no Vitch, he knows there's no Centaur, he knows there's no Needler, so he can freely spam those Pee-wees.
Yep. Oh, look this. Really nice off-tanking there from the Phoenix, giving it the extra damage that it so badly deserves. The Kraken will tank forever, though. Does finally go down, but it's done its damage. The Phoenix is going to die, so that is the blessing gone from Drakir. And if we look at Lucy's lane, this Hades is going absolutely insane here. Her blessing is down as well. Drakir leaks 67%. Lucy's doing even better than that. She's killing everything apart from the boss and the Four Eyes.
So they survive, and they saved Mythium.
They did. They did spend the King attack upgrades, which I'm sure they're very happy with because they do leak pretty decently, so that's going to save them quite some HP here. But now the pressure is definitely in favour of the underdogs.
So, I'm gonna say to you right now, Witherspoon had a good combination in the Trinity Archer Leviathan. So that he had that going for himself, but he doesn't have the value to continue that. Kingdan has the same combination though, so that goes a long way for him.
Oh, look at this.
And I would have loved to see Drescher full push to 17 dem.
Yeah.
Because it's Kingdan's the threat, not Wither.
Shadow, I have to say, like, King Dans is such a skilled Chaos player that he held his Divine Blessing for 5 waves and then played it on an Azeria on wave 15.
Yeah.
Can you imagine
I
having Chaos skills like that?
I mean, I can only dream of it. I cannot expect it.
Widdowson
But-
correctly full hunting here, understanding the send does not come here. He's also rolled the Leviathan APS Archer in King Dan's lane as well, by the way, as if the Blessing Azeria wasn't enough.
I'm gonna say I really dislike the decision to Lucy not playing to hold. I mean, oh yeah, okay, she's playing to hold, but she pushed as well. But I'm disliking the fact that Drescher did not push hard
Yeah.
because King Dan's is the problem. It's not Wither.
Yeah. And Widdowson and King Dans, they are saving their Mythium here, so if they're able to survive, and this is a big send from Drakir and Lucy, but if they're able to survive, Widdowson and King Dans are going to be in an incredible position here.
Yeah, and that just comes to the fact that Drescher did not push. I really think that's a big mistake from Drescher and Lucy to not have Drescher full pushing and end it.
And just look this, by the way, the Leviathan with a full circle of 6 Trinity Archers around it is just going to deal infinite damage here in Widdowson's lane.
But for all along.
Yeah, because he does lack tanks. That's for sure.
Name a good tank here on this wave. Gonna leave you a bit of time. I know it's hard to find.
He has this one Harbinger. Siege Rams really just proving their worth there, tanking all of that infinite damage from his Archer Circle. Widdowson is going to leak absolutely huge, 139%. Meanwhile, though, King Dans with the Blessing Azeria, with the Leviathan Archers, he's just holding. The 840 Mythium send, he makes it look easy.
Yeah, and that just comes back to Drescher not pushing here.
Yeah. Drakir needed to push really hard to make this work.
There's still a lot to the king. Gonna be honest with you.
There's no dangerous mercenaries though. It's only really the wave. But
the wave
is it
17
enough?
is enough.
Is it enough? It's enough. Underdogs. Come on.
I still dislike the risk of Drescher not for pushing here, having the pressure advantage and Lucy built so strong on 17.
Yeah.
So I would call misplay here from Drescher, but still worked out in the end.
It's perhaps a misplay, but it worked out for sure. So Lucy and Drakir, congratulations. They have once again taken the lead in this best of 5. They're now 2-1 in favour of the underdogs. They only need one more match.
They're at game point. You know how I said the 8-game stream trust? I fear I might be close to right here.
Yeah. And this one really comes down to Drakir and Lucy holding their nerve on 15. They had tenacity on their side. They had good rolls. The sends were huge. 840, 880 from Widdowson and King Dans. And sure, they got the leaks in, but with that fully upgraded King attack, with the 100% tenacity, they were fine. They knew they couldn't die. No matter what, they know they couldn't die, so they can save past that wave 15. They can send this insane 1,000 Mythium against Widdowson, 840 against King Dans, and even though King Dans holds here, it's still enough to get lethal damage. Well played, underdogs. Fantastic game.
I'm gonna be fair on both sides, okay? I called a misplay on Drashir on the end play to not push. I'm gonna tell the misplay to Witherspoon here on 13, sacrificing a lot of king HP, making this play possible
Oh
for Lucian
yeah.
Drashir.
Yeah, those pack rats on Widdowson's lane, like he's gonna have nightmares about those tonight. I'm sure he will. And King Dan's with that egg as well. Like they know what they're doing. When King Dan's places this egg
Yep.
on wave 12, they know they are baiting a wave 13 send, especially because King has like the double kingpin as well. So they know they're baiting a 13 send, and Widdowson still hunts his pack rats and leaks 83% instead of what would I have to assume that would have been an easy hold with 3 pack rats alive, because it would have just kept his Divine Blessing Azaria pumping out damage, pumping out healing, and he'd not only hold his own lane, but he'd fully cover his teammate, and instead of going from 93 to 46% King HP, they would have stayed at 93, and then maybe this game has a different ending. But as is, just really well played to the underdogs.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just shows to you that both teams respect themselves, respectively very highly. They have very high respect to one another, and because they just need to make those risky calls all the time to squeeze out these wins.
Yep. All right, Shadow. So this is match point now for the underdogs. King Dans and Widdowson, they must be feeling the pressure here. This is maybe the first time in a while that they've been unfavoured going into a game number 4 of the Nova Cup finals.
Right.
And it looks like King's having to take a little break, in fact.
Yeah, let's not jinx it, right? Because we still see Drashir and Lucy the underdogs, right? No.
Of course, yeah.
No. But really, I really think you're right that Witherspoon and King Dance should start filling it. I think Witherspoon being afraid to take yellow here is costing him a little bit.
Yeah. But at the same time, now that they're on match point, does Widdowson ever dare to take YOLO in this situation? Because all it takes is for him to YOLO like an unplayable role and the tournament's over.
What I want to see is King Dance on Fiesta. I want him to switch it up. I want him to control the pace of the game. I want him to control the pace of the game.
One of these 4 players picking a Fiesta in this crucial game number 4.
I think if you're ahead, you probably don't do it on Lucy and Drashir's side. You probably go down to the cartel on Lucy, or maybe a YOLO somewhere. I know Lucy's not a YOLO player, so probably not. But if you're back against the wall, making the game on your pace might be the better choice. I mean, the chaos is not working for King Dance at the moment, so I would say that changing the pace could be good for them. That's all I'm saying. Whatever the mastermind they use to change the pace up, they need to change the pace a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be an interesting one for sure. Will Abrasia be able to keep their cool? They are 2-1 down as we move into game number 4, and the underdogs with everything to play for. Will this be their month? Come on, underdogs. Game number 4. Let's go.
Let's go to game 5. No, no. Let's go and see what they choose here. Embargo, Pawn Shop,
Chaos again.
There's Pawn Shop has to play Chaos.
Yeah.
And Vidar having faith into his redraw.
Lucy picking up the cartel, so her old reliable there. This is something that she plays a lot on the ladder. She's got a decent role. It's not an insane one by any stretch.
But wait, Drashir is out of the greed, out of the cash out. What does he have left? I would have expected.
YOLO
he has
from
YOLO
Drakir.
left.
Okay. It's a pretty good one as well with the Casket Seedling.
Casket Seedling, fast and aggressive, just like they like it. And Lucy has the same judge, by the way.
Yeah. They can't both play it though, surely.
I do think they won't both of them take it. I think Lucy's role is very good for it though,
Yep.
but I doubt she will play it though.
We have to admire the size of Drakir's balls here with the YOLO pickup in the crucial game number 4. It's match point. He's not scared. He says, YOLO, baby.
I mean, I was questioning what he had left, and it was pretty much Cartel or YOLO. Lucy being Cartel, I really doubt double Cartel would have been their favorite play, and so taking YOLO makes sense here in the end.
All right, Lucy with the Nightmare opener. She has the Oathbreaker as well. So despite
Yeah,
not having the Butcher, and she can re-roll for that still, she has really good options for the first 7 waves, for sure.
yeah, I mean, you still have the healing source with the Pilgrim, which is a very valid option.
Yep.
A gun from Withersson. It's gonna be the mid gun. He does have the Infiltrator for wave 3, which is very good.
Kingdans again with the Chaos 95 gold 5 worker opener. Would have been in big trouble versus a snail here. Doesn't receive one. That's interesting, actually. I don't think we've seen any wave 1 snails so far on the stream today.
No, because oftentimes if you go for a snail, if the opponent is Fiesta, you're pretty much down a little bit because
Yep.
then they have the pressure. If it's an aggressive opener, then it's a 5 worker, you're probably a bit down in pressure too. So it's just showing the respect that they have, that they can make proactive play to a snail on 1.
Yeah. And Drakir even gets another king upgrade here, so he's just going 7 workers, no doubt.
I would be careful for him because he doesn't really have that big wave 5 option. So I think 6 workers is more reasonable. I don't think 7 workers is.
Yeah, he goes 7.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, it's risky because his best option is to build a Sakura on wave 5.
That might be what he does, actually. I've seen Drakir play this before.
Let's see if that's what it is, because this is his best option with 7 workers. All the rest is too low DPS against a possible Hermit or a possible Imp Sen.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what he's going to do. He's going to add the Pixie somewhere around here on wave 4, and he's going to turn it into a Sakura on wave 5.
So let's see. Withersson does go for the gun. Infiltrator. Lucy does not get 3 snails. Oh, she does. Interesting.
Kingdan's rolled to Seedling himself, but he was already looking strong on this wave 3. Wave 4 might be a different story. Withersson?
Mid gun alert!
Yeah, he's getting his gun run down. That Infiltrator was 1 square too far back, it seems, and that's a 47% leak to 3 snails on Witherson's lane. Meanwhile, Lucy against the 60, she will leak as well. Didn't get the perfect focus, but only 19% there. And of course, both teammates will be able to cover the leaks, it seems.
I mean, the biggest thing that's happening here is that Kingdan is stuck at 5 worker because Drashir is sitting at 100 Methium.
Yeah, he is, but look what Kingdan's did. He very, very skillfully rolled the Nightmare on wave 3, fully shifted his gold, and he'll just try and get that on the board for wave 4.
Does he just go Canopy because he might get the tech with a Growl later?
He's getting a Brute Send here from Drakir. Drakir's going to be very sad when he sees this Nightmare. It's 2 Brutes, but the Nightmare is just perfect on this wave. Kingdan's 415 value with the ideal unit for wave 4.
Pretty sure Slicken is pretty sad here now. If he's looking at this, not seeing the Canopy.
Yeah. I mean,
But
it's
the best
definitely the
option
right
for
choice from
Kingdans.
Kingdan's. Definitely the right choice, yeah. He's even leaving a little gap here for the Butcher that he's going to roll at some point.
Oh, okay. Drasher is not preparing wave 5 that much here. Going for the upgraded casket. And he's going to rely on Lucy covering him. He was hoping for a big leak on Kingdans, which might
he's
still
going to be
happen.
very sad when he sees this Nightmare from King. It should still be a lead, but it won't be a massive one. But Waldo over here getting the 3 snails. Hello? You understand your teammate's getting 120 cent?
I gotta say, it is because of mid-gun.
Oh, Waldo! And this is quite some King damage. Obviously, Kingdans did insanely well, and a very nice full shift there on wave 3 without even knowing what his wave 4 role was going to be. Now, of course, he got lucky with the Nightmare, but just the presence of mind, knowing that he has to fully shift his gold there to be good enough to hold on wave 4.
The problem I have currently, like with how Withersson and Kingdans played this current series, it was always Withersson saving on Drashir, Withersson saving on Drashir, Withersson saving on Drashir. They never swapped the sending order.
Yeah. So for some reason, they think that Drakir is the carry player on the side of the underdogs, but let me tell you, both Drakir and Lucy are fully capable of wearing those carry pants when they need to.
Oh yeah, trust me, I know that. I faced them so much in the ladder that even if I get one out of the game, the other one is still invincible.
Yeah. And Kingdance, it looks like he would have leaked pretty badly to a resend, but that does not come. And look at this shadow, a wave 6 mimic coming out pre-income from Widdowson. Drakia, what is your answer? This is a lot. And 2 friends from Kingdance as well.
He doesn't have an answer.
He doesn't have an
And
answer.
so he's gonna rely on Lucy. She's close to value.
Lucy's
it all
very
depends-
strong here. Very strong. The
Yeah.
canopy's insane, but the 2 brutes can slow the canopy down a lot.
Yeah, it really depends on where the brutes are. If one brute is in the split and one is in the main wave, then it's pretty good. But I don't see the brute being in the split here. I see the 2 brutes on the canopy.
Okay, so 180 send for Drakia, 160 for
Wait.
Lucy. Let's have a look at this. He's sniping
Is
the
it one
left-hand
brute?
side brute. That does die very quickly, but now the second brute is slowing down the canopy. Nightmare
And
is
there's still this
untouched
behind.
so far. This Mimic is just doing the Lord's work. In Drakia's lane, he's leaking massively. He doesn't even kill. Look at this AoE damage against the Roccos. 85% leak from Drakia. Lucy's canopy did die. She's only having the Nightmare survive, which won't be enough to clear up anything in the mid. It does go on the low HP Rocco, actually, so she can kill 2, in fact. Okay, that's better than I thought. 18 gold, though, on Widdowson's Mimic. This is a crazy good result.
You say crazy good result. I will just say that to you.
Yeah?
I do
that
think
is true.
Drashir and Lucy came out ahead of this trade a little bit because Drashir was 7 workers throughout this whole time.
That's true, and that is the power of the Casket Seedling, right?
Yep.
He was able to have like insane workers because he could push his 7th worker during wave 2 already, and then the Starve from Widdowson to wave 6 is just, it's not as bad as it would have been with like any other role, more or less.
Yep. I mean, it's the second game that Widdowson gets Drashir big, but still, I feel like that both time he came out worst into the trade.
Yep.
So we're gonna see
Alright.
what's the next play here. If you're Widdowson and you look at Drashir's lane, you're looking possibly at wave 9. So you could expect Drashir building the King Claw for 9. So Growl preparation on the 8.
Kingdance, very ballsy here, 580 value on wave 7. There was, of course, no send from Drakia, but even 2 lizards could have been very problematic for Kingdance here.
He's going for income, and same as Wither.
And Drakia and Lucy, they're saving their Mythium.
Okay, I prefer this. Yeah, that nice decision by Drashir to go for the planes instead.
Yep.
I didn't see it in his role. I didn't see in his role first, but
Well, he
Oh,
has
he
rerolled
has.
now, so.
Yeah.
Widdowson only has, speaking of rerolls, only has 1 of his 4 redraws left. And he has got Ocean Templar APS Gates, which is pretty good.
it is pretty good. But do you get there? You starved yourself pretty hard in the early game.
That's true. And Drakia should do just fine against this. His casket is on the wave. The spell is doing what it needs to. The Sea Dragons, of course, are going to one-shot that dino. That looks
An
like a
extended
hold.
long one shot, right?
Yeah, and Lucy is holding as well. So only income sends, of course. Oh, wait, no, Drakia, you're not holding. Unless...
Easily came, but like 1 or 2.
Yeah,
It does extend their Mythium lead.
it does.
And
They already have 200 for Drakia, 250 for Lucy, and this wave, it's lasting even longer.
that's 15 workers on Lucy with Cartel as well. So
Yeah.
pretty good early game outcome for Lucy at the moment.
Kingdance did roll the boar here in his Chaos roll. He will need
Flower
to
is
send
better.
income to get it.
Flower's better here.
Oh, Kingdance, though. He makes a bounty hunter. He's going to live to regret that, I think.
Yeah.
One
He does
flower,
get the
one
flower.
bounty. I mean, he's on 1235 value. This is the true
And-
Chaos overbuild that we've all come to know and love.
No, Widdowson reads a 10 cent. Does
Okay.
not go for a gate. Goes for an orchid instead.
Orchids are still pretty good, but neither of them have been boosted. And this Centaur from Lucy is just going to wail on all of Widdowson's Swift Arcane units that are all grouped up because of the gun placement. This Centaur is just perfect for Lucy. Look at this. Widdowson's getting completely overwhelmed.
He's leaking 100%.
He's leaking everything. That Centaur's even tanking 107% there from Widdowson. King Downs, he is doing better, of course, with his 1235 value, but he's not going to cover, I don't think. This Canopy, it can't 1v1 an Ogre.
He just read 10 and he prepared to snipe the Siege Ram with the Orchid boost, but it just didn't happen.
It didn't happen. So King Downs only leaking the Ogre. That's about the best result he could possibly hope for. This is still going to be insane king damage. The underdogs are in a really good position. Remember, guys, this is match point here.
So, okay, let's start talking about the way that Widdowson and King Downs can come back here. We do talk about the synergy of the Ocean Templar gates on Widdowson. The income situation is still quite fine, considering that Lucy is cartel.
Yep.
However, the worker is pretty low. So what they require is Lucy and Drasher sending a bit too early. So hiding the gates could be good, because the play from Drasher and Lucy is the old classic of Drasher, 9 to 13.
Yeah. And the gate surely is a strong unit there. And the double Orchid is pretty good as well.
So we're gonna see if there's an adaptation, because King Downs is pretty weak on 13 still, as what it is shown as of yet.
They probably could have won with just a brute resend, by the way, on wave 10.
Yeah, but it is a very risky play in a winning position.
Of course.
So
But King Downs, it looks like he's leaking no send.
he's leaking no sun. But those are the risks that King Downs and Widdowson needs to take.
Yeah, they have to
come
play
back.
risky in this position. Alright, here come the income send from King Downs and Widdowson. So again, Drakir and Lucy, they will just they go for a full giant snail send, actually. Okay. Hoping to make something happen.
Okay. So they're predicting the long save from Joshua and Lucy.
Yep.
So that's what they're predicting. So they're playing around it by going for the only play that could work around it, and that's going for giant snail every wave.
Yeah.
They farm the shutdown on Lucy, and they try to resist the next send.
But
So that's a way to do it.
two really important things to point out here, Shadow. The first is that Drakir and Lucy did not take embargo. They both took pawn shop, so they're really high value. Lucy nearly 1800 value, in fact. And the second thing is that King Downs, with his chaos in a pawn shop game, the second time in this finals, has not been able to pick up the pawn shop. He's been forced into another spell.
Yeah, it's the thing. It's like, yes, you have this idea, but if you're behind, it's not really a good play.
Yeah. And Lucy, it looks like just she should hold this. There's still quite a few tanks alive, so maybe she'll have some difficulty, but I think she's just fine. And Drakir over here, he's doing pretty good, but I think he does he just hold? He does. Lucy is easily holding there with her full HP. Doppelganger with double lifesteal. She's having a very easy time over there. And it looks like, oh, the units are shooting the Lifebinder over the top of the centers.
You say he holds. I was like, you sure?
I didn't think those Lifebinders would get sniped like this, but they did, and that was enough to make Drakir easily hold. Easily hold.
Easy. Yeah. Not even close.
But man, that was a super long wave. Drakir and Lucy have crazy amounts of Mythium saved up here. Widdowson, like, sure, he wants to hide the gate, but one Hellgate on wave 13, is it going to be enough against a 600-700 Mythium send coming out from Lucy? I don't think it is. But his Orchids are insane, right? We have to say this. His Orchids are insane.
Against DTs, are they?
Against Kraken? Against Ram?
I mean, it's Kraken DTs the send from Lucy. I would expect.
Is wave 14 the play, even? Because they're not really under any pressure for Drakir and Lucy. Okay, here's the Siege Ram, so there's our answer.
Yeah.
Alright. And there's the double 4 eyes from Drakir.
Yeah, I think it's the correct play for them to finish it on 13. I mean, risking it on 14, you risk a leak on 13, you give a shutdown, then they have the correct answer for 14.
Yep. Now, Abracea, they are sending for leaks here with the full Giant Snails from Widdowson, the 4 Eyes from Kingdans, and I assume he goes for full Giant Snails post-income as well. We do have... Okay, Kingdans is unsure whether he wants the Hades on the APS or whether he wants to just play with Fatalizers. It looks like he's going for 1 Hades and 1 Berserker, okay. And Widdowson, of course, is fully boosting these Orchids over here, but the Siege Ram's going to tank a lot of that damage.
Yeah, one thing going for them is that Kingdans is on value because of the rats.
Yep.
There is the 4 Eyes, but
And there's
the
no Kraken to
Hades-
stop that Hades from summoning more Thanatoses, right?
Yeah,
it's going to
that
do a ton of
Hades
work.
might carry this.
It's still a massive send, though. Hades does just now get its second summon out, but it's doing very,
Hades?
very well. Hades! Widdowson does leak 89%, so he not only has to hold his own lane, but also be able to have some cover potential in the mid. That is a 25 gold shutdown, 70% leak from the Giant Snails in Drakeer's lane. Lucy is holding as expected, and Kingdans, he does hold here. There's 4 creeps in the mid, including a Centaur, so Kingdans, despite their very impressive hold in his own lane, he's not able to kill a single creep from Widdowson here. Is this
Are they low
enough? 35% HP. They have got some King Attack upgrades. It looks like they're going to survive, but man, these guys are in trouble. King down to 15% HP for Abracet.
Okay. We have a full push from Drescher. They want to end on 15.
Yep.
Kingdans is pushing though, and Widdowson is the one not pushing.
Okay.
So they read correctly. They read that it's gonna be Drescher.
Oh, Drakeer's even selling units here. Wow.
Wait, is that a
very nice call there from
wait.
Kingdans. Very nice call.
Is it a comeback?
This will be insane if Kingdans and Widdowson win this one here with this suicide read.
I mean, what needs to happen is Widdowson holding 15. He cannot afford to. I mean, okay, he can afford to leak very, very slowly, which is impossible with his build. So he needs to hold. Then he needs to do it in the middle long enough.
But, I mean, Drakeer is definitely leaking no send here because he sold quite a few of his units. So the send is going to be absolutely enormous. Widdowson has to not only hold, but, I mean, Lucy surely will leak here. Kingdans is going for a full suicide push. Although,
Yeah, so
is he? He's actually stopped pushing.
he stopped pushing?
So he went for the full push with his wave 13 gold, but he's going to build again on 15.
Oh, I know. The thing that he wants is a slow leak. Because if Widdowson holds, it's gonna be fast because of the orchids.
Yeah.
So this means that if Kingdans leaks too fast and the 2 others leaks the slowest, then they will go down at the same time. So what he wants is that the 2 waves of Drescher and Lucy goes down the middle and already start going down while his wave is still going down.
Yeah. Now Lucy does have the highest value, oh, actually pretty much identical to Widdowson. And Widdowson is boosting as many of these as he can, and he has the Ocean Templar canopies. He used his final reroll. He found the Graal, the ideal unit to keep those tanks alive on wave 15. This might just clutch it. Will this be the dream comeback for Abracet, or are the underdogs going to take their first Nova Cup victory? This is so close.
Lucy is looking pretty strong
Drakeer,
here.
of course,
as
leaks
a
everything, but
layer.
these canopies are just living forever with the Ocean Templar buff. I think Widdowson just holds. He does. Let's have a look at Lucy's lane. She's going to leak, Shadow.
Kingdans leak is slow.
Kingdans is even doing insanely well
Is
with
it
his
slow
suicide
enough?
push. But Widdowson, he's just fully holding. What do you mean is it slow enough? Widdowson's going to cover the leak. And the
Is he
underdogs,
covering
I think they're
full?
going to die here, Shadow.
They're dying.
Abracet with the insane comeback here in wave 4.
He's just
Absolutely
still-
insane. Shadow, what the hell just happened? Man!
What? Eh? I mean, it's just the chaos coming at clutch with the Hades on 13.
Holy moly. Yeah, that Hades, the insane hold there from Kingdans on wave 13, and able to... I'm just absolutely gobsmacked, Shadow. This is one of the most
Yeah.
insane comebacks we've ever seen on a Nova Cup.
I don't understand.
Wow. King Dams. I mean, he's pretty good, right? He's a pretty good player.
I mean, Witherspoon just not pushing us. I know he did push 3, but
He pushed from 11 up to the dizzy heights of 14, but Drakir with the full suicide play there, clearly he wasn't holding anything on 15. And Lucy receiving that full push 640 send from King Dance, she just couldn't hold. She didn't have the same roll strength as
maybe
King Dance
you
with the
were right.
Hades.
maybe you were right. Maybe it was 14. I thought it was too risky, but I did not see the Hades come up.
Man, that's just absolutely insane. And Widdowson with the super clutch Ocean Templar canopy is just outrageous tank value on wave 15. They can't kill them.
Wait,
The
no.
split shot just, they can't focus the canopies down, and with that Ocean Templar regen, it's just absolutely absurd amounts
They
of tank
knew
value.
about the LOD. They knew about the LOD on wave 12.
They did, yeah. He placed
So I'm
it
gonna
on
call
wave.
the misplay on the Sen here.
Played it on 11 even.
Like you just Kraken 4-eye.
Yeah, Kraken would have maybe had a different result here against King Dens. Because they didn't know
Maybe-
about the Berserker either, so they weren't sending against a Fatalizer potential. I guess he was maybe sending against like a Phoenix as the worst case scenario, maybe not understanding that King Dans is playing Chaos. But man, either way, that comeback from Ebrasir
Yeah.
is just off the charts.
I mean, just
Really
reading
impressive
that
stuff.
with the Hades, Drescher's gonna full push.
Man,
That's a heartbreaker.
that's a really insane comeback. I just.
But do you
absolutely
know what
insane.
this means, Penny?
It means we get a game 5, Shadow. It
Yes.
means we get a game 5.
Against all odds.
Against all odds, man. I can't wait. I actually can't wait to see in 5 minutes' time just Twitch chat going absolutely crazy when they see this most insane comeback of all time.
I mean, was Drescher in the wrong to full push? Was he in a better position to hold with 15? with
I
this
think
Black
I just think
Panthers?
after the wave 13 hold, the game is kind of flipped on its head, right? Because what could they do if Drakir doesn't full push? King Downs is definitely holding with his Hades
But
on
Drescher
15.
is holding 15, no? But then Witherspoon holds still. Yeah, you're right. It's just an awkward spot.
It's a really awkward spot. They needed to win on 13, and they were super far ahead. And King Dan's just got really, he had a good roll. He had really good focus with his Hades getting a ton of last hits, summoning all those extra dragons. So he was able to hold his own lane, even do a bit of damage in the mid, kept them alive there, which was super clutch because that was a really fast and aggressive play from Drakir and Lucy. But it wasn't enough. And Abrasir, they somehow managed to bring this one back from the brink of defeat.
Yeah. And now both teams are on match point.
Both teams are on match point. Wow.
But now we don't have redraw on Witherspoon. We don't have chaos on King Dance.
Yep. Dude, what? I can barely talk, Shadow. That game was insane. Alright, so come on, underdogs. Don't let that one get to you. That is such a hard loss, actually. They were within centimeters of getting their first Nova Cup victory.
They
and
were
they just had
feeling
it
it. They were
snatched
feeling
away
it
from them.
already.
But don't let the pressure get to you. Drakir, Lucy, you can do this. Come on, guys. Keep a cool head. Game number 5. Everything to play for. Let's go.
Witherspoon on Cartel, King Dance on Greed, Drescher on Cartel, Lucy. Is the Fiesta coming?
Surely she can't Fiesta here. I'd love it, though.
But what's left? Redraw? YOLO? Greed? Double Cartel.
Double Cartel. Okay. So they have to play this one very fast and aggressive because if it goes to the late game, they're going to be in giga trouble.
I mean, you say fast and aggressive, but I could say they could play it slow and methodical.
No, they would never. They would never, Shadow. Kingdans with his patent Crusher Neko opener, very solid there. Widdowson with the Nightmare Oathbreaker with Cartel as well. It does mean he can go 5 workers after wave 1 rather than having to wait for wave 2 to start. So that's a nice little thing there. Lucy has the same, but she does not have the Oathbreaker. They're going for the snails, and it's going to backfire.
It's gonna backfire.
I mean, I like the play, I like the idea, but it's just giving free gold to Widdowson and Kingdans.
Yeah, and it's gonna give pressure. It's gonna give also a lot of stuff, yes.
Yep.
A lot of workers.
Uh-oh.
But let's see, it's not all over here, just because there are snails. It's just a slight advantage to Widdowson and Kingdans in terms of gold.
Yep.
But we still have double cartel in the play here for Drashir and Lucy. They will look for some long save in the beginning and also fend them off from Widdowson and Kingdans. Nightmares, though, pretty hard to deal with, especially with the Widdowson special with the Oathbreaker. It's one of his favorite.
Here's a snail send from Kingdans. He gets it pre-income. So he is returning the favor for Lucy at least.
Yep. Okay. It's a long shot. But what do you think about a long save for a Mimic against Widdowson? Or a wave 6 send?
When I see the Oathbreaker on 3, I quite often like to skip wave 5 against the Nightmare and try something like a Drake on 6. So not really going all in with the Mimic, because you can normally leak the Drake at least on wave 6, but still have the income.
It is true. And right now we see Pierce damage on both sides, and they're going to send on 3 at least. So now after that wave 3 send, what will be the decision is really what will decide the game. Will Drashir and Lucy try and exploit the double cartel? I mean, Drashir is already exploiting it. He's going to save a bit here. Only Lucy sending.
But Widdowson and Kingdans are saving their Mythium as well, so they can still apply that pressure whenever they see fit, especially when Lucy sends her Mythium here. Will she go with the snail to go with that lizard or not? And if she does, how will Widdowson's focus look here? She does get the snail. Okay, so let's have a look at Widdowson's lane. This can leak decently, or it can full hold. And it looks like the Oathbreaker is tanking full, so it's going to leak.
Small. I mean, we've seen you leak to the lizard only, right?
I've leaked to a snail only with Nightmare Oathbreaker, because I'm just that good.
I mean, you need to be pretty skilled to leak the 20 with Nightmare Oathbreaker.
Yeah, exactly, right? So 30% leak for Widdowson, he's completely fine with that. It does mean he has to wait until the end of this wave before he can push his 7th worker, but I do expect that he will push his 7th worker, and there it goes.
The Dino can be quite dangerous.
Against Kingdom.
Oh, and yeah.
Yeah, he's going to add a Warg here.
A lot of Pierce. Dino is very threatening. He could have sent here to get a Pilgrim. Decided against it.
Yeah, he's still on 405 value though. Drakir does add the snail, but the way that this is lined up with the Warg so low down, won't both tanks go left here?
No, the tank should be on the Varg here.
It does go
left.
Wait,
no, you're right.
But the Neko, will it go straight on that Dino, or will it start one-shotting the wave? It is on the Dino. Okay, that's really good focus for Drakir, less good for Kingdans because he's going to struggle to kill this Dino, and his Crusher does go down. The Warg is doing extremely well over there in the split, though, and now the Neko is one-shotting the chickens. Is it just a hold against 100 send? It is.
It is. The Varg was crucial. And that's the send on 5.
Okay, so double brute from Widdowson. Drakir is going to struggle with that one, and imps from Kingdans. Lucy with the golden bucklers here. I mean, it's just going to be absolutely shredded.
It's not looking promising, despite the cartel.
She could use her gold a bit more efficiently here because look, she has 30 gold. She's adding a buckler. She could build 2 gargoyles instead.
Yeah, I mean, she decides to add a polywog.
But 120 sen for Lucy, the 140 from Drakir, and those brutes are doing serious damage against that casket. The Sea Dragon does tank perfectly though, so that's something. Lucy though, those imps absolutely shredding her bucklers, that defense going down very, very quickly. This Seraphim doing a ton of damage though, so at least that's something. But these are big leaks here, 49% from Lucy, 53% from Drakir, and with imps and 2 brutes reaching the king, they're in danger, Shadow.
Yeah, that's the danger of double cartel if you fall behind. But now they do have the Meteor pressure. They need to make that next send work. I thought that 6 was a good wave, but now with all this gold.
Yeah, 57% HP already on the side of the underdogs. They truly are the underdogs now.
I mean, Joe still says that there's a chance of a comeback because there's still the large Meteor lead from Lucy onto Veda.
Hey Shadow, if last game was able to be a comeback for Abrasiet, then anything is possible.
Anything is possible. So we do have the Orchid coming up. We do have the Nightmare show. I do think that we will see the 7th Sen from Lucy and Drashir. Unless they think Witherspoon and King Dance are going for Income King here. And then they can go 8.
Yeah, let's see what happens. Rukia has pushed all the way up to 7 workers, and he has got the Cage of Pain, right? So presumably he can upgrade that even without sending. But no, the 7 send does come out. There's double brute from Drakia. Lucy presumably wants a mimic. Or yeah, there's Lucy's mimic. She won't get a brute to go with it, unfortunately.
A little bit unfortunate. Drashir is pushing heavily. He wants to make that send work, and that push.
Dan's going for a green
He
devil here,
does
so
get
just
another
wanting
brute
tank
here on
value.
Drashir.
Yeah, he does.
Does he? It's close.
Very close. He gets it.
Does.
Okay, so triple brute walking into King Danzy's lane. They need to get some serious work done here. All 3 brutes straight on the green devil, by the way.
Yeah, that's
And now
not
straight on
King
the
Dance.
Nekomata.
Oh, there's
The
one
Nekomata's not even 7 stacked, by the way. The 1 bruised is down. The Nekomata is down. Nightmare is now tanking the brute. The Bone Crusher actually the last unit alive. Oh, and Widdowson penny leaking the Mimic here. 209 HP, 18 gold on that bad boyo.
But I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think they bring down the King HP down to their level.
No, they don't. They're not going to even up the King HP here. But it's something, right?
It is something. It's all about the next curve here, and they decide for the recent here. Very risky to go for the recent.
Well, I think they're just feeling under the pressure, though, because Widdowson and King Dance, they didn't send on wave 7 there. So now King Dance has 200 in the bank, Widdowson's not far behind, and Drakir and Lucy with this resend here might just be signing their own death warrant, Shadow.
No. They're predicting the wave 9 send. Lucy preparing for it.
Ah, nice. So already preparing for the wave 9 with that Millennium.
Same goes for Drashir.
Yeah, okay, Shadow Dance, a pretty solid unit. But they can even just go wave 10 if they want to, now that they get this Income King resend.
But then you have the double on Lucy, and you have the Sky Queens on Drashir.
That's true.
But it's gonna be a large send, you're right.
Alright, is neither player presumably leaking this Income resend here because their builds are both very strong on wave 8?
I mean, hopefully for Drashir and Lucy they don't leak.
Yeah, right, that would just be really bad for those guys. And yeah, indeed, Widdowson and King Dance easily holding. But another resend coming out from Drakir. And yeah, wave 10, looking dangerous.
But Lucy's on value.
She can have a doppel, but like, then she's just really lacking the tank value for it. Because her most expensive unit is this ranged Millennium here. It won't do anything to keep a doppelganger alive.
It's all depending on what's the send next. Lucy is shifting. Drashir.
He's shifting a bit as well, is he? Or is he just going to make a pack rat? He does, okay.
But Lucy shifting is a
Only 50
very
gold.
nice
Though.
read.
Yeah, a nice read.
Okay, only a 40 cent onto King Dan, so maybe they go full here.
Does Widdowson leak to
Drescher
no
is
send? I
Lucy's
think he
sending
does.
for income.
Yeah,
Drescher
Widdowson's
should
going to leak
follow.
no send here.
Ooh, that's a lot of gold though for Lucy. I mean, yes, it's good for time, but it gives gold for Lucy that is close to value already.
That's true. And it guarantees that she gets that doppelganger. She might have had to sell some units for it otherwise. But this is just such a long wave, Shadow. And they need those king attack upgrades as well, right? Yeah, they're both saving a little bit. No, okay, they're not. They're actually sending. But they need those king attacks. King Dans and Widdowson, they save again, Shadow. They're not messing about.
That,
Widdowson has his doppelganger, but with so little value.
Are they saving too long?
Are they saving for next game? I think if Lucy and Drakir had gone for a full send here, they probably would just be saving for next game, but it's only Income King.
I thought that's what they were going for after Lucy skip, but no.
Okay, there's still 100 send for King Dans and an 80 send for Widdowson if you ignore the King ups. It might just prove too much.
The doppel on Vidder is doing a lot of work here.
It is for sure doing a lot of work. It's still alive here, but I think it's going to die. And King Dans, he's going to leak as well. Yeah, Widdowson leaks only very small though, 30%. King Dan's 51%, but look at their Mythium counts. The Siege Ram has been sent from Widdowson and he still has 100 Mythium to spare and press the attack.
It's still a lot of gold here going on Lucy and Drescher.
It's a lot of gold, but the sends are absolutely enormous, Shadow.
And they are, and it's gonna be buffed by the press the attack.
But Drakir and Lucy could just press the attack full send themselves. I think they just have to play for a race.
They could. It's a
Like,
very
surely
hard call
they know
to
they're
make
not
because
holding against
Lucy,
this send.
I mean,
Surely.
Lucy,
She's got good
still looking
tanks.
pretty decent.
She's got good tanks, but not really good damage.
I mean,
Not
the Vitch
only
is very
magic
good
damage is
against it.
this Devilfish here, which she needs to turn into a Seraphim. They do press the attack. Will they full send, or is it going to be king upgrades?
I mean, what's the best that Drescher can add?
It's a full
Brutes,
send. He goes Brutes, okay. What does Lucy send? Just
Full
DT
DT?
spam. And Widdowson does boost here. He's on 1300 value. Okay, I think we're going to
Race
see
it, race
Wave
it.
11 game ending one way or the other. I just don't know which way it's going to be.
I'm gonna keep you updated on the smaller sends here against Vidder and King Dance.
Okay,
You
I'll
can
keep
look
my
at-
camera on Drakir and Lucy then. Lucy obviously struggling against the Ghost Knight here. Her doppelganger does reach the wave. It doesn't kill the Witch though. Widdowson leaking 67%. Lucy leaking now. Drakir leaking and King Dans is holding
is
the
slow.
longest. He does leak though, and the King HP is in advantage of Lucy and Drakir, but their leak is so much faster. They are going to go down, and it looks like an Abracea victory here on wave 11.
Yeah.
Wow! What a game! Shadow, these last two games have been absolutely crazy.
They have been, but we do have a February winner, and it is Vidder and King Dance yet again.
Widdowson and King Dans. Jeez, Shadow. If you'd asked me about 20 minutes ago who the champion was going to be, I would have told you Lucy and Drakir, because they were so far ahead in game number 4. But there was a dream comeback there, and there was an insane finish to game number 5 here, and that means that Abracea are once again your Nova Cup champions. What a series, though! Holy! Let me send the good
I'm
game
gonna
thumb
be
ups to all
honest
4
with
players.
you. I think that if Drescher sends a Drake onto King, he probably leaks faster.
Instead of the Brutes? Yeah, because the
Instead of
Brutes
the
are just
Brutes.
semi-tanky, right?
Yeah,
Ah,
and
man.
the Drake is just good against the front line.
Yeah. But at the same time, if they full sent on 10, they might have just won there as well.
Yeah, that too. It was just a hard spot, but I really thought that after wave 9, like Lucy and Drescher would have full sent on 10 because
Yeah.
Lucy skipped.
Man,
I
that
was really thinking that it did not happen.
I mean, the most you could have sent is like 2 Brutes. which you might be thinking there's no way that's enough. They probably are. They clearly are expecting a wave 10 send, right? So I can't fault them for the income king play, really. It's only because we have God mode, right? We can see what everybody is doing, that we can see a full send would have been good. But if you're Drakir and Lucy, you're just desperately trying to survive. So I think the income king play on 10 there is clearly understandable. And I do like the fact that they went for the PTA race on 11 instead of trying to survive, which just was never going to happen against a send of 600 on wave 11.
Almost worked.
It almost works. It almost worked. And in fact, even though Lucy leaked faster, our Brasilex King was already taking damage. So they ended the game with 18% there. And this has got to be one of the most insane Nova Cup finals we've ever seen.
Yeah. Indeed, and we did have 8 games in total, so
yeah.
I mean, well played to each team, of course. I mean, it was a very stressful day for everyone in this game, I think.
Well played to both teams, but we need to get King Dans and Widdowson up for a winner's interview as well.
Yeah.
Man, that was just absolutely obscene there. Drakir and Lucy, I have to feel for those guys because this really was their month. They played this series out of their goddamn minds and probably feeling a bit robbed after that, if I'm honest. But you can never feel ashamed of losing to King Dans and Widdowson. These players are just at the absolute top of the game, and they've just proven to us once again why they are the best players in Legion TD right now. All right, Widdowson's confirmed he is available for a winner's interview, so we might have to hop on down to that channel there, Mr. Shadow.
What channel?
I don't see them yet. I can give them the roles to join Caster channel actually.
Oh, there, I see them. Game room 1.
Down there. Okay, cool. Let's move down to game room 1 then, and we'll say hello to our February champions. Let's go. King Dans, Widdowson, champions once again. Congratulations, guys. What an insane series.
Thank you very much.
That was just absolutely unreal, wasn't it?
Yeah, we tried to make it a bit closer this time because last time you said it was too quick.
Yes! Well, thank you for that, guys. You definitely gave the viewers something to watch. That was, man, that game number 4. I thought Lucy and Drakir had won the February Nova Cup. Halfway through that game, you guys felt pretty far behind. But King, your insane Wave 13 hold there with the Hades, just bringing you guys back from the brink of defeat and then clutching it out there with the kind of semi-suicide play on 15, but still able to hold the longest. Man, that was insane.
It was ridiculous. I mean, we were so desperate. I was very close to asking King if he wants to FF. and I mean, we picked Giant Snails. We desperately picked Giant Snails and try a resend.
Yep.
While it is pretty much impossible to league Lucy. And they both hold. So how lost is that game?
Yeah.
I checked after the game. The game coach says 23% win chance.
I think game coach was being generous, if I'm honest. Like
yeah, very generous actually. I think it's probably just because Drakir had a blunder, but it happens, and luckily for us, it happened. Today, I gotta be honest, I don't deserve to be on the first place, but King carried me, and we were a bit lucky in the end.
Yeah, a little bit lucky, but also just playing insanely well, right? And even game number 5 as well. We're talking about game number 4 a lot because it was probably the most insane comeback I've ever seen on the Nova Cup. But game 5 was also really intense. Super back and forth. Both of you guys taking big swings at each other, chopping that King HP down. And in the end, you went for this insane 600 Mythium on 11's end, but damn near lost the race as well. Lucy and Drakir correctly taking the PTA to try and race you there, and it nearly worked. It nearly worked. You guys were on 18% HP at the end there.
Yeah, like on wave 10 I told Vida we need to care about the resend, so I
Yep.
just didn't push it all, and I guess it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out. Like I was really hoping that they would go for a full send there instead of an income king. But of course, like we have the vision of what everybody is doing, so we know you're saving there. So clearly, Lucy and Drakir are expecting the wave 10 send, just desperately trying to survive with income king. But maybe if they'd sent you 2 brutes each, you would have just lost the game on 10.
Yeah, very true. I was a bit afraid because I'm not sure what Jules was saying after the big wave 5 leaks of them, but I think we could have probably played that game out in a safer way without going for this all-in play. Probably could have done some income on 8 or go for leaks on 9 or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think the all-in play might not have been correct, but in the end we are happy that it worked. And yeah, that's also, as King said, he carried in that spot because he didn't just brainlessly push workers after 10. He said, only thing we gotta be careful about now is not dying to a PTA resend, and he didn't push, and he held the longest.
Yeah, really well
Just to
played.
say to you, after the 7 leak of you, you had 60% and they had 40%.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So a bit of an edge, but not over by any means. And yeah, King, great presence of mind there. In fact, you really did clutch those last 2 games, King. You've got to be saying man of the match going over to the King himself here, like the wave 13 hold in game number 4, and then the wave 11 holding the longest as well. Kingdan's just playing absolutely out of your mind today. Super well played.
Yeah, thank you. But in
I
game
agree.
4 I also got carried a little bit by Chaos, of course.
Of course, yeah. I mean, you very skillfully rolled the perfect unit for every wave. Like,
Yeah.
But man, me and Shadow were just completely on the edge of our seat the whole time. I think this has been, if not the most, certainly one of the closest Nova Cup finals ever, and I think definitely the biggest comeback in game number 4. So just really well played, you guys. It's I'm actually kind of surprised for once that I'm talking to you and to you both here in the winners interview instead of Drakir and Lucy. Like,
Yeah.
I thought it was their cup this month. I've got to say. I've got to say.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I was already seeing myself in the Twitch chat listening to their winners interview, typing GG, well played, you guys deserve it.
Yeah, and they would have deserved it. They really would. I
Yeah,
feel
for
sorry for
sure.
those guys, but at the same
Yeah.
time, like, man, what a series. What an insane series. And you guys played to your outs, right? Like, you had a really low percentage. I think the 20% that Game Coach said was generous. I think it was more like 5 or 10% chance for you guys to win game number 4, but you played to your outs, you made it happen, and just really good game sense there. And especially with Kingdan's like pushing super hard after holding 13, knowing that he has to break Lucy on 15.
Yeah. I think it would not have worked if Drachi didn't suicide push, and also if Drachi didn't leak so much on wave 14.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
true.
I mean, there
But,
was a lot
yeah.
this game, yeah.
Yeah, that, I mean, multiple things add up to outcomes like this, so
Yeah.
happens.
But the
Happens to
first
best.
thing was Kingdan's hold on 13, right? Because without that, the game's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
over. Like,
That's insane.
yeah. And Drakir's probably kicking himself for not sending a Kraken there or something like this. But, you know, in the moment, it's very, very difficult. With hindsight, these things are easy. But in the moment, like, it's very, very hard to make the perfect play every single time.
Yeah. I'm
Unless you're
also
King
not
Dan's,
sure.
apparently.
I'm also not sure if it might also have been sent diff on 15 by Lucy on me, because she knew that I had a lot of canopies, and I think I also showed the Graal before, so I don't think that the Siege Ram is the best send, because my canopies just eat the Ram.
Yeah.
And if Lucy sends Needler with DT spam or something, it might work better. I'm not sure, because I wasn't easy holding. I was just holding very slowly on 15.
Yeah, but the Canopy Ocean Templar is just insane value on 15, right? Like, you're probably right, DPS might have been better, but at the same time, even if you leak, you're going to hold a really long time with Ocean Templar canopies on 15.
Mm.
Oh yeah, man, what a series. What an insane series. So, super well played to both teams here. Abrasiet, once again, actually undefeated so far in 2023. That's got to be said.
Yep.
Pogo.
Okay. 2 months, 2 championships. I mean, you guys are just undefeatable at the moment, it seems.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a run for your money, and so I think that Drescher and Lucy did play very well. Also, I mean, I felt throughout the series like the nerves in the pings of the players sometimes when there was a last during the last waves of certain games. Like, how does the nerves really attack you in the late game decision making when it was a very close game?
Can go ahead.
Oh no. Well, I mean, yeah, the nerves definitely hit. Like, especially when you are like far behind, like in the last game, and then you end up somehow surviving 13, and then still being able to make like the correct decision to go like for a big push on 15. It's definitely challenging, but it's also like it's the most fun I've ever had playing Legion, pretty much.
Amazing. It's definitely the most fun I've had casting as well. What a series.
And I'm sure
The chat
that Drescher
asked
and Lucy.
something.
Oh.
Sorry, Shadow, for
Yeah,
interrupting.
no,
The
it's okay.
chat
It's
asked
okay.
something twice, and they asked about the game 3 where I was playing without tanks, and I really I could not believe my eyes. I was playing redraw on that game, and in all my redraws, I hit no tanks. I didn't hit any tanks. I couldn't believe it. I still had two. I still had 2 rerolls left in the mid and late game, and I was okay. I'm gonna find one tank with 2 rerolls. I didn't find it, and it was so sad because King was full holding there, and I, I leaked hard enough, so we still died. My God.
That's just a skill diff, though, I'm sure.
But
I
yeah, I
got a
was
bit
saying.
griefed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay. No, that's sometimes it happens. It's a very low percentage, but yeah. But I was saying that Drescher and Lucy probably are happy to hear you guys still acknowledging. It was very hard to beat them, and that you had fun playing against them in this final.
Yeah, it's always fun against them. We know we are always up against a very tough opponent, and yeah, as I said today, I don't deserve it, and I think Drachia and Lucy might have deserved it way more than me, but probably King deserved it the most in the end because he was able to carry my ass today. So yeah, shout out to them. I hope they stay motivated, and I'm sure they will. Maybe one out of the next 11 Nova Cups, maybe they win.
Maybe. King Dan's obviously been practicing his deadlifts with Saya Jin, right? Because
Yeah.
he's had to do some heavy lifting today. Ah, man. All right, guys, I think our February Nova Cup is coming to an end. Shadow, do we have any final words from you?
I'm gonna say the players made us work a lot here. All games on stream going the full distance. So
Wow.
yeah, not easy on the casters either, man. So good job, Penny, to keep up.
Hey, I'm an old man, you know. These long casts. Yesterday was really long. Today was really long. It's difficult, but it's a lot of fun as well. And I'm sure the viewers have absolutely loved the full. Every match we've seen on stream actually has gone the distance. All 3 games yesterday were best of 3s. The best of 3 semi-final today. The best of 5 grand final. Every match has had all possible games played, and that really goes to show like just how good all of the teams are in this month's Nova Cup. It's been really good to see.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it as well. I need to say the new format on day 1 especially is
Yep.
really nice. I still think day 2 semi-final should, I don't know, best of 3 feels very short. Feels very short for a semi-final, but yeah, if it goes like today, you guys, if the semi-final would be a best of 5, that would be super long.
Just say it. You just want 10 games.
You want 10 games.
Maybe not 10. Maybe not 10.
Oh, guys, what an insane Nova Cup. This has been a really amazing month to watch. I hope you've all enjoyed the show as well. The usual shout outs to everybody involved behind the scenes. So, all of our tournament organisers, Natto Dog and Schnerd for keeping everything running, Slinky Dinky for his cool check in bot that really helps to keep things moving. And of course, Auto Attack Games for making the game that we all know and love. Without them, none of this is possible. It's been an amazing show. Make sure that you're all back again in time for the March Nova Cup. It's going to be absolutely insane if this month is anything to go by. And I think, guys, that's enough for the stream. So yeah, we will see you in March. Goodbye.